We'll go. Thank you, Denise. Good morning. It is 9:02 on Wednesday, the 15th of March. And we'll go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Airport District Board of Directors meeting here. And I believe we need to, Mr. Pick, that was pretty good. We thought you would be later. Welcome. So you will make roll call.
Right.
Director Pick,
Here.
Director Leffel,
Here.
Director Sabo,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Chair Sani.
Here. And Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, do you want to lead us in the pledge?
All right. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know. There is a bell, and maybe it's if we could all silence our phones if they're not already. Communications, announcements, and informational items. Anything from staff?
Madam Chair, you had asked that I give you a quick briefing on the most recent power outage and our response to that. Actually, the event went about as planned with two exceptions. First of all, the internet. We have two internet providers in the building. One is AT&T and the other is Comcast Xfinity. Some systems are powered by Comcast Infinity and some by AT&T. Those that were powered by AT&T worked. Those that were not powered by AT&T and were powered by Xfinity Comcast did not. The generator for the terminal building and the generator for the airfield lights all worked smashingly well and kept the entire building alive. We did not and could not provide flight information display simply because the internet was out for that system. We tried several times to reset it. It did not reset and required further assistance when the internet came back up. We did not and have never had power in the parking lot to power parking lot lights. That is not part of what's on the generator. The generator is its function for this building is to power this building. And it did well. Matter of fact, our restaurant had a smashingly good day without his POS system. So he couldn't take credit cards, but he took cash. And that's because his POS was again on the Comcast Xfinity system. But I think overall it went well. We had an occasion where a few of my employees who live outside of the peninsula were getting calls about flooding and evacuation potential. So I sent the administrative staff home at 4 o'clock. We still had maintenance and operations here in the building as normal. So they were here to provide any physical assistance that was needed in terms of systems. We had several occasions where the bag belts, all of them, gave us some problems, and that's a function of age on their part. We're trying to nurse them through to the new building, but they kept them running. They kept resetting them and brought them to life when it needed to be. So I think overall, my staff did an amazingly good job of keeping things functioning and operating. I think we lost one flight during the first power outage. Not sure about last night, whether we lost any or not. And we're on commercial power, so I likely think no. I can't say that about home or at Pebble Beach. Tomorrow at 9 and tomorrow at 10 is what they're telling us. Beyond that, I think everything went well. And we will be doing an after action probably tomorrow to see if there's things that we can improve. So I hope that's satisfactory and accommodated what you were asking for.
It is. Thank you for that. And I know that I was here on Friday night, as I know one other director was too. I know we had one director out of town who got to miss most of the
Used my
excitement
vacation as well.
as well. But I do know that Woody's was very busy. And the parking lot, I actually made a call to ensure that the arms were raised ultimately, so that people could at least park and get back and forth. Let's see, I did have one question about, so generator, so we've got our solar over on the other side. Do we have battery? We do not have batteries at this point. And the generator was the one that was powering everything that was here.
The generator for the airfield is required.
Right.
Via Part 139. That's a separate generator. The generator for the building is functional. It is required to be able to accommodate the security and the other functions that are needed in the building for air service. And it did well there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I want to recognize all in the audience today. I don't know how many, sure, absolutely. In just a sec. I don't know how many attendees. It looks like we don't have attendees online. Is it 0? My eyes are starting to fail me. I've been lucky so far, but I'm at that point. And Director Sabo, you had a comment.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike, for sharing that information about the power outage. I was getting calls on Friday because I was unaware as a director, and maybe all the directors were unaware that the power was out here at the airport. So I came over here apparently along with Director Sani. I didn't know she had been here earlier, but my recommendations are that you do a after event assessment, like I think what you've indicated that you're going to do. We are a to me, we're a 24-hour operation here. I didn't, in touring around the terminal that night, I didn't see any airport staff. And of course, the flight information was down. I kind of figured that was related to the power outage or internet. I think we need maybe another generator to assure that we have all the capabilities. I was really befuddled by the parking lot, where to go. There was nobody to direct me as to where to go. And so, in other words, it was kind of messy. And these things kind of pop up and we don't know that they're coming. So I think we need to have a after action report that says, here's what happened, here's what we're going to do, and maybe we need another generator for the terminal and the parking lot, and we need people here during the emergency, particularly when there are flights inbound and the terminal was flooded, overflowing with people waiting to greet folks coming inbound. So anyhow, I'm glad we made it through. I would like to, as a director, find out ahead of time, or at least when the event is occurring, that we have something going on at the airport. And I think we need to really seriously evaluate having more staff available during these emergencies and more generator electrical capability and maybe internet capability. So thank you.
And Director Miller, you had a question?
Yeah, just a quick question that brought up about batteries. Yeah, I found out when I added solar to our other house that without batteries, it doesn't work even when the power's out. If we were to go to a microgrid, could we use that power directly, or would you still have the same problem? Does anybody know that answer?
I don't know. I can tell you what I have assumed all along, but
Looks like
that powers, it's a generator basically, so it would power itself, so we could plug into that. Battery power for solar is another issue, and as that gets more refined, it can store the solar power and we can tap into the battery rather than putting it on the grid, which is what we do now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It seems like there's some questions and I'm going to take the to-do to make sure that this gets to be agendized in the next few months. Either in our meeting or if we have a board meeting. I think there is some strategic things around this as it is so critical ultimately. And I know that the airport does a lot of things with requirements and even some of the emergency things that we already do. But I do think we as a board could have some conversations about what we can do in the future as well. Anyone else? I'm going to go ahead then and public comments. Great. I'm glad that that's next. So public comments not on non-agenda items. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak, go ahead and go up to the mic. You'll have 3 minutes.
Need to be honest.
Yeah, it should be on. Is it on?
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Paul Brim. I've spoken at many public meetings and introduced myself with many different titles, but they will be the first standing here as a title. Quite excited, about 4 weeks since I've had my license. And I have a phone here in your Southeast Hangars, part of your general aviation committee, which I found to be quite a vibrant community. Some of them are here today. I know that you're all aware that the tearing down of the hangars, most of the hangars, it's a concern to many people. We all understand why it's important, but there are some issues that brings concern to those who were there. Relatively new, but I kind of share some concerns. Two main concerns. One is the rate shock. What happens to the rates? And then also then what is the appropriate market rate once you adjust rate shock. Rate shock's easy. You can schedule increases to an 8-10% annual to different ways to handle rate shock. And handling rate shock is important because you don't want to have an exodus from the hangars as people have to go elsewhere. Markets are a lot tougher. One good thing is you can decouple cost of building the hangars from the cost that you charge, because realistically, those hangars, if you just kept using them today, the cost is near zero. They don't charge it zero. Why is there going to be new costs? New costs is a component of building a new terminal. So because it's a terminal cost, not really a hangar cost, you can sort of decouple it. If I were sitting in your shoes, I'd be looking at what should market be. Do you do a maximum of 120% of market of regional survey of survive? There's ways to do that, but there is a market, municipal versus market, private. My family owns Breakwater Boat Marina, and our rates are significantly higher than Monterey Marina. Well, that's commercial, private versus municipal. Monterey doesn't recover the cost to build it, doesn't even recover the cost of the interest on the loan to rebuild. So we wouldn't be the first people to decouple cost of structure versus what you charge people. So you have a lot of things to think about. I know we have time before we get there, but it is a concern, and I'm certain that you're going to be addressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, board members, Madam Chairwoman. My name is John Gagliardi, and I've been an airport hangar tenant since 2009, 14 years. I was commander of the Aero Squadrons until I supported the airport's chief of police, Jeff Blaine, in his run against Sheriff Bernal. I'm a Del Rios resident of 57 years. I live in a house that I grew up in, and I believe the experience of seeing so many types of aircraft landing and taking off in all forms of weather every day for the first 19 years of my life was so my interest in aviation. I only got my ticket in 2008, but I've been flying small airplanes and helicopters since I was 12. The airport has been inspiring and supporting civil and military aviation communities since 1936. I hope the district is planning to do something in its 90th birthday a few years from now. I've watched the C5A land here. I've seen the Goodyear Blimp, Blue Angels, Thunderbirds, two B-17s and several P-51s, all call Kilo Mike Romeo Yankee their temporary home. During the last U.S. Open, My airport district hangar and the Navy Flying Club supported the MetLife with power and bathrooms. At functions at this airport, I've met General Jimmy Doolittle, Colonel Pappy Bollington, Rear Admiral Alan Shepard, and Bob Sheehan, who most of us know as Captain Kangaroo. Speaking of the Navy Flying Club, I've met several foreign allied Naval postgraduate students who remarked that being able to get their private pilot's license was a greater reward than the graduate degree that their country sent them to. You know, we should take note of that. The point that I'm making is that Monterey Airport is a pilot's airport. And I'm proud to have grown up in its jet wash and be accepted as an active and accomplished pilot in its community. I'm here today to show my support for the district's general plan for the improvements and modernization of the airport. I think the district's plan is critical to the health of Peninsula's hospitality, education, and military economies. I'm also here to support my brethren in the GA community, which are an important constituent of the district. And we recognize changes coming, we support it. We just want to ensure that Monterey's bright future includes, not excludes, having a thriving GA community. Thank you.
Thank you. Well timed as well. Go ahead up to the mic, sir. Or, yep.
Okay. My name is Malone Hodges. I'm also a GA pilot. I was commander of the Navy Club, and I'm currently the commander of the Air Squadron. I got my private pilot's license here at the Navy Club. This is a unique airport, I think pretty much nationwide, in the combination of it being a Class Charlie active commercial airport and yet the home of a thriving GA pilot population. Excuse me. And I would hate to see that change. I think I really can't add much to what the previous two speakers said, except to emphasize the fact that hangar cost drives occupants. You can displace a whole bunch of C-150 pilots and replace them with aircraft that are not the ones that are going to be bopping around in the pattern, hanging out at coffee shops. They're going to end up being higher cost aircraft with less frequent local interaction. They're not going to be the folks that show up at the city council meetings and defend the airport. They're not going to be the folks that are out in the coffee shops and the communities talking about what a great airport this is. It's just a different population. And I would really hate to see that population get displaced. Especially all of us who've been living in leaky hangars with broken doors, with one light bulb for all of these years. And we're all excited about where we're going to end up, but we'd like to actually end up there. And as a footnote, those same small aircraft are the ones that add to the number of landings in this airport. And I know that calculates in somehow in our relationship with the FAA and our tower and all of that. But those 172 zipping around 2,000 times a day are important to the airport. If it's an SR-22 that just takes off and comes back in a week, it is going to change them all. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, directors, staff, I think the previous speakers have expressed many of the emotions that I hold also, especially my connection to the airport and the uniqueness of Monterey and its Class Charlie.
Could we just get your name, sir? Okay.
My name is David Dickens. Southeast, founding member of Monterey Pilot, and also a volunteer for the MPAD, part of their airport support. I'd like to speak to the same issue today that we just heard from the other speakers regarding the north side hangar base that we live in Great Falls. Before I get into my point, I think mirror a lot of the concerns that my fellow pilots have. I'd just like to indicate that Monterey Pilots, which was formed just 3 or 4 months ago, now has 34 members and includes 18 of the Southeast hangar tenants. So the majority of those Southeast hangars are now represented in that group. We didn't request them to move to the west side. Yes, we're looking forward to brand spanking new hangars. Who wouldn't? But the truth is, it's being forced on us through no fault of our own. The sharp increase in hangar rates cannot be readily absorbed by the existing tenant set. There are some discussions I've had with them what would force the tenants to move in terms of a rent increase.
If it's adopted by the board, it's $750 cost for companies that it was mentioned in the January meeting, will essentially double our rent and force the majority of the existing tenants to leave Monterey. That would be a sad thing. A better approach, we feel, is to find a way to raise the rates gradually. For example, the existing leases negotiated between the airport district and the Monterey Fuel Company specify a 7% cap on annual rent increase. We saw no reason why anyone policy didn't satisfy. We want to work with the board to avoid rate shock and maintain the stability of nearly full occupancy as well as uninterrupted income to the airport district. So we're asking the board to set reasonable rates for the new campus that will ensure that existing tenants are transferred fairly at rents that are not based simply on covering the new build costs within a set time frame. Monterey Airport is our base. We love to fly at Monterey, and we're looking for the board's support to help us stay there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I just have my speaking notes.
Sure. Absolutely. We'll get it to the record. Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Ron Brody. I'm here with Christine Allard, CFI on the field. Christine and I have maintained a Cessna 150 and rented the hangar for the last 5 years. We've contributed over $20,000 rent during that last 5 years. In addition, over the last 2 decades, we've contributed to the airport economy over $100,000 in form of purchases, including fuel, maintenance on our aircraft, upgrades to the aircraft, training, and so on. So we are an active part of this community. Now, I'm a member of the board and the board president, which has been for about a decade and a half, of a $40 million nonprofit. And I'm well aware of the fiduciary duty that boards have to establish and maintain a reserve for capital assets that they're in charge of. These hangars that we're talking about are a major capital asset. There are only 3 major capital assets. If you think about it, there's the runway, there's a place to put airplanes, and there's a place for people to meet. So these hangars are a place to put airplanes, and they're integral to the airport. Now, I'm sure, I trust that this board and previous boards have maintained or maintained a reserve for the hangars. And I know for a fact that over the life of these hangars, there's probably $120,000 worth of revenue available for that reserve. And I can assure you, based on my experience for the last 5 years, that not a penny of that reserve has been wasted or squandered on maintenance or repair of those hangars. And talking to other hangar renters, I know they have experienced the same. So I respectfully submit that there is really no grounds, financial grounds for increasing the rent substantially over and above what is normally the normal and customary rent increases for the hangars that we've been experiencing in the last few years. So I thank you for your time. And by the way, on the side, as an engineer, a battery backup will keep your solar system active. That's primary value, and give you all that power to add during the daytime for new power.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we need spelling on the names or we're okay?
Ron's last name?
Ron Rudy, R-O-H-D-E. R-O-H-D-E.
Thank you. It was yoshing me that I didn't catch the first time. Thank you.
Oh, there was 2.
Huh? It is on the sheet here, sir. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come up.
Sure, I'm just a fellow that's a renter here. I got my private life. My name is Ralph Love.
I got my private license in 1959. I moved to this area in 2000 and then started the hangar here in 2008. One of the ones they moved over to making that all the problems. Spoken of. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force. I'm the guy who flies the pig airplane out there. But the bottom is, if you double the rates, I have to.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak for public comment? Something not on the agenda. Go ahead, ma'am, to the podium, please.
We have a great community of pilots. We're not, you know, business. You have the airplane, you can afford a lot of things. Get the hundred, but we're squeezing our cash to keep the airplane safe. And this is a great community of people. We meet, we train ourselves, and we talk to power people that also contribute to safety of flights. Here. So I know with this encounter, that kind of atmosphere is gradually diminishing. And this great community of pilots are living elsewhere. I'm sad to see that gone.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? At this time, I'll go.
Madam Chair, if I might,
Yes.
I'd like to. Okay. Well, I want to respond to something that actually, I appreciate all the comments of the individuals who came today, and I want to respond to something that actually didn't come up today, but I do want to, I know it's been out there, so I do want to respond to one issue. There has been in some comments, you know, an issue related to non-aviation related use of hangars and the airport's inspection program. So I wanted to just let everybody know, while we've got a good group of individuals here, the airport does have an annual inspection program that incorporates our property staff as well as the fire marshal. We do an annual inspection of all the hangars. Now, every year we do that again from one side of the airport to the other. Having said that, in addition, on top of that, anytime we do get a complaint related to a hangar that is not in compliance with the FAA's aviation related hangar use policy, then we immediately go out and follow up and we inspect that hangar individually. Without notice, we go and we do an inspection. If there is a violation that's discovered either during that spot notice, that spot inspection, or during the annual inspection, we give them a correction notice pursuant to the lease that we have. We give them an opportunity to correct and to come into compliance with the hangar use policy. If they do not, then we move forward with termination of the lease if they don't comply with the hangar use policy. Late last week on Saturday, I received an email containing information and identifying in some specific hangars that were not in compliance with the FAA hangar use policy. I want to thank the sender for that. On Monday, we followed up, staff followed up, the executive director. Some of the hangars are controlled by Monterey Fuel Company. Some are controlled by NSSI. Some are controlled by the airport, depending on which hangars we're talking about. Of the 130 plus, 140 plus hangars, of all of those hangars, some are controlled by different entities. I am informed that the executive director spoke with Monterey Fuel Company, with their general manager, who said he would immediately get on it and gain compliance right away. I am in contact with some individuals from NSSI working on compliance on a couple of hangars on the north side that we know about, that are owned by these individuals, that again, it's on a long-term ground lease. I'm working with those to gain compliance. I am aware of a hangar that we control that does have some, I believe it's firefighting items in the hangar. We're working on that one as well. We're going to get in compliance with that as well. There are a couple of, I do want to just be clear though, there are a couple of aviation related hangars that the airport has deemed non-habitable. The doors don't work. We think the risk of damage to property and to individuals is higher than it should be. So we're not utilizing those. There's just a few of those, I think, on the north side.
There are
Over
4
here.
of them.
Yeah, about 4 of them. Any hangar that is habitable and is available for use, we'll rent. And so there are a couple that we've identified that are available. We are going through the normal process to rent those, even if it may be for a short period of time, but we're going through that process. But I did want to just let individuals know, I appreciate the information that's been given regarding non-aviation related use. We don't support that. We will enforce our policy, and we anytime we find out about it, we follow up immediately. So I do appreciate the comment that we received, and again, we got it Saturday. We're 3 days in, and we already know of some compliance. The rest will come into compliance. But I wanted them to know we do take this seriously. We are trying to work on maximizing the aviation related use on the airport. As to the price of the hangars, that's well above my pay grade, so I can't talk about that. It's not something I'm involved in. But as to the compliance with the policy, we take that very seriously, and we're moving on it. So I appreciate the information that we received.
Yep. Go ahead, Director. Thank you for clarifying that, Attorney Huber.
I just want to thank all the people who attended here, all those that spoke. Had a singular issue, but all the people that came. I think this is a true representation of democracy, and we're glad as a director here, am glad to have public input. At least we know what our constituents, our tenants, airport users need, want, and without that input, we're kind of in a vacuum. So thank you very much for sharing your time to come and attend and to speak. Thank you.
Anyone else comment?
I too want to thank all of you. We are going to start our budget process in the next month, and the staff has already started on that. So this will be a topic of conversation. We have heard all of you. We are appreciative of what you bring to this airport. We understand that you are the heart of the airport, and we are not sitting, not listening. So thank you. We've got our work to do in the next couple of months. I will say this as a retired banker, we do have a fiduciary responsibility with public funds that is far and above what goes into anything else. And we have to be very thoughtful as we work through this. So it's important, and you'll hear, I think, some really good deliberation. We've come up with a couple of possible scenarios that may ease the pain. And so we'll continue to work on this. The other thing is the cost of these is not set yet. We have a not to exceed contract. That does not mean that that contract will be what the top dollar is. We are just dealing with a lot of variables now. And I think that's really important for you all to realize. Our staff did a really good job by setting a price based on what they had to start, which is what we needed to go out to secure some funding and to do some other things. And I do want to address the reserve issue. We are putting 3 million of our reserve money into this. So we are not relying on new money on all of this. And I think that's important too. We have made a commitment to use a substantial amount of our reserves. And I just want to make that clear in case you don't come to another meeting, you can at least know that. So thank you.
Scott, could you, I know in leases we talked about, and some of this came up, and I appreciate your group of general aviators coming and sharing some of your perspectives. I know I've had some phone calls about some concerns too, and different things like that. And I appreciate you giving the district an opportunity to correct things and as soon as we are aware of them. As a district, I think we need to make sure that we've got clear communication and probably on our website for just how someone could report something in the future. And I know, Scott, we kind of talked about that in leases a bit. And then my second question is, we do have people on our waiting list currently, correct?
That's
And
correct.
about 40, is that correct? Okay. So, Scott, do you want to?
Yeah,
It
certainly.
looked like you wanted to.
Anybody can, again, depending on what their comfort level is, we will take complaints, whether they're anonymous or whether they are identified. If the individual identifies himself, we'll take them by email, by phone. We'll take them in person. If someone wants to come in and make a complaint about someone who is, alleging a non-aviation related use, we'll certainly look into it. I think the general information email that's on the website is there, but again, I'm happy to give my email address if someone would like to email me with any of this information. And since this video is on the record, I'll put it here for anyone to come and find on YouTube. It's S as in Sierra, Huber, HUB as in Bravo, ER at Cole, COLE, Huber, HUBER.com. And there are no spaces in any of that. So.
Thank you. And I know that we even discussed this in leases, that we all feel responsibility if we are aware of something to address it and to bring it up. So I'm grateful to know that the district is addressing these items that we are now aware of, and grateful, all my fellow board members. I know we were listening to you today and we hear you. So thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted
Oh,
to.
you want?
Yes, I too want to echo what everybody said. Thank you for coming. We don't always get this level of interest and attendance, so we are listening to you. I want to reemphasize what Director Leffel said. We already have put in 3 million out of our reserves to hold down the cost. 3 million represents about half the cost of the new hangars, approximately.
A little less, but yeah, close.
About 40% of the hangars. But we are looking at other things we can do to soften the blow here, because you are a valued part of this airport, and we do appreciate your participation here and attending these meetings. So thank you, all of you, for coming.
All right. Everybody's good? I'll go ahead and move on to consent agenda action items. Item E. Thank you to those that are leaving. We appreciate you being here. Understand. Fly safe,
Bye.
keep flying safe, please.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I actually would like to pull 4 items on it. So I would like to pull both of the proclamations. And then I do have I think I've got a question on item 1, and I do have disagreements with the meeting minutes of item 2 and would request that that's pulled for a later date.
All
To be
right,
approved.
I will modify my motion to approve item 3 on the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, or we need to do roll call? Okay.
Director Pick,
Aye.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes. So I'll go through the minutes of the regular board meeting. Let me find my notes here. It's a simple, so the local jurisdiction liaison, is it just 1 or is it 2 people? I thought it was 2, but
I
might be
believe-
my
no, I
misunderstanding.
believe it's 2. We not put in. both in?
Well, both are there, and it says, well, it says Director Leffel as alternate.
No, there,
Yeah. No. We have Director Leffel and Director Miller as local jurisdiction liaison.
No,
that was last.
that was last year. It's myself and Leffel this year. Yep. if we could. And then I wanted to confirm that the liaison representatives for C have all been communicated to the different outside agencies. Ambig, LAFCO. I know I believe I'm not seeing anything for Special Districts Association. That's the reason for my question
You won't,
until the quarter.
we're not really an organization. So we are not an active government agency. We're nothing. So you'll get nothing. 'Cause
Okay,
otherwise you just get it from me as the president.
okay. So is it not communicated that I'm the liaison then
It's
or whatever?
important to this body. but
Yep.
Special districts doesn't care.
Okay, okay. So just to ensure and I'm just looking at the others as well. Dino, you know that the Regional Taxi Authority will come around, I think, in July, and you wanted less meetings, so.
And they've contacted me, Chair.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And then Bill, you stayed, and Director Miller, you're aware of Ambig. I know you and I had the conversation.
Yeah, I've attended 2 meetings already.
Okay, great. So that was the clarification about the local jurisdiction was a big thing for me on that one. And I disagree with the meeting minutes for the Air Carrier Services Marketing Communication Relations Committee on March 8th. And I would suggest that we just pull it for now. And you and I could have a conversation, Mike, or and Dino, I think, has some recollection differences with it too.
Madam Chair, let me back up for just a minute. I want to make sure we keep these things orderly so we know this
Sure.
record is clear. As to the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 15th, the only modification is to remove as alternate on item E sub B for local jurisdiction liaison.
That is, yes, that is correct.
If
That's
correct,
my
it would be-
request.
It would be appropriate to have a motion and a second to vote to approve those minutes.
Perfect.
So moved.
Appreciate it.
Second,
Who's doing the second?
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann gets the second. Dino is the first.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
yes,
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes.
Thank you.
Then can I just pull and place for another day? Or that would be my recommendation.
At the pleasure of the board, if that's the board. would like to
Okay.
do, it's fine. Up to.
Yep. Do I have a second on that request?
Second.
they'll come back next month.
Yeah, if there's no objection to it, then we'll bring it back.
Great.
Could we restate the motion?
Just to pull the meeting minutes of the March 8th Air Carrier Services Marketing Communications Committee meeting.
And was it a rescheduled date? I didn't hear that.
The meeting happened. I just don't agree with the
Okay,
notes
I
that
get
were
it.
taken.
All right.
I believe if we continue, it doesn't
Yep.
require a date specific, correct?
No, just to continue to the next board meeting.
Okay.
Continue the approval of the minutes to the next board.
Right.
meeting, And then they'll work on.
All right, so we got a first and a second by Director Miller, and we'll need roll call.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes,
Director Sabo,
Yeah.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes. And for the proclamation, I can pull, well, I'd like to recognize both of them, but since Director Leffel is here, I'd like to read that out loud and present it to her. Sam? Well, we have a mic. Go to the podium. Last month, some on the board went to your dinner or dinner that honored you, as well as many businesses that successfully had survived COVID. And I just want to recognize all you have done for the community as well as this airport, obviously. So we, as an airport district, proclaim in recognition and appreciation, acknowledging Director Mary Ann Leffel's service to the Monterey Peninsula community and the Monterey Peninsula Airport District. You were appointed to the Monterey Peninsula Airport District on June 8th, 2008, and elected to the MPAD Board of Directors on November 4th, 2008. You've been here a while. You have, Director Leffel has now served almost 4 consecutive terms as a Monterey Peninsula Board Director, with 3 terms as chair, and has been a fierce advocate for the Monterey Peninsula Airport District. And whereas you have been deeply involved in the Monterey Peninsula community and serves, and boy, this is a list, and has served on numerous Monterey County boards and committees, including LAFCO, Monterey County Workforce Development Board, the Business Services Committee, Carmel Valley Art Association, Legal Services for Seniors, the Regional Taxi Authority, Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, Monterey County Overall Economic Development Commission, Natividad Hospital Board, Monterey County Agricultural Education, Monterey County Revolving Loan Funds. Hold on, folks, there's more. Meals on Wheels of Monterey County, Monterey County Film Commission, Carmel Business Association, Old Monterey Business Association, United Way Monterey County, and Seasides Economic Development Commission. And on February 24th, 2023, Director Leffel was rightfully honored by Monterey County Business Council with their Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, therefore, I, as Lisanne Sawney, Chair of the Monterey Peninsula Airport District, in concurrence with the Board of Directors, do hereby recognize Director Marianne Leffel and express our deep appreciation for her tremendous dedication to our local community and her unwavering commitment to the Monterey Peninsula Airport District and the entire community here. Thank you. Thank you.
We did happy snap, you guys.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't happen, we got a photo.
Okay.
For those of you who were not there last month, Ned and I have an ongoing, this life of payment. Standard. So, I'm actually very happy to have flowers because the kales went to my housekeeper's chickens the next morning.
Hail is a vile room.
Yes.
Nasty.
All right. Happy picture.
Yeah.
And I should hold the proclamation.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's-
I'll have to see the glasses, huh? These days.
But thank you all so much. And you know what? Everything we do is because we have good staff to work with and good fellow board members and a good community. So it's all of us together.
All right. Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
What happens when you work hard?
They smell delicious.
So could I have a motion?
Page through it.
Could I have a motion for
I move-
adopting 4
I
and
move that-
5? of
I
the-
move that we adopt both proclamations.
Second,
Director Pick,
yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
and Chair Sonny.
Yes. In the interest of time and looking at who's in our audience, I'm wondering about moving. Can we do closed session next, Scott? I'm assuming some of the firefighters here are interested in that item unless it's something else.
It's at the pleasure of the board.
We've split
Would the
chair.
board
Yeah, fine.
be okay with that?
Yep.
Anyone else?
I have interest in the other people who are here other than the firefighters.
Sure.
Are they here for
I'm just-
our agenda?
Yep. And if anyone would, does it impact anyone in the audience?
Brett's here for 5 and our contractors are here for 2.
Okay.
So
Brett's here for 5? Okay. All right. So I'll let it be then at this point, or I can do 2 and 5. And then maybe we can come back for 1, 3, and 4.
That's absolutely fine. In closed session, the firefighters will not be allowed to be in.
Understand that.
We're not asking for any action at that point, so it's your pleasure.
I appreciate that. So I was just looking at who was here. So I think I'll go ahead and pull 2 and 5 right now. Let's address those. And then when we come out of closed session, we can do 1, 3, and 4 to respect everyone's time here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go forward with, for right now, the quarterly update by Chidlaw Marketing.
Thank you.
And I, as the chair, would like to address that I've had conversations with the executive director about my desire to pull this for today. And it's about that the meeting minutes aren't accurate and that the comments from the Air Services Committee are not reflected in the information that the board has reviewed over the weekend or this week. I don't believe so. I'm sorry that you weren't shared, that information wasn't shared with you. So I've requested that this is continued to next month under the circumstances. Okay? Yep.
Chair,
Yes.
can I suggest that we just go ahead and have it? And that then if we need to have it in a different, that we need to have more updates next month, that they come back with a short update, but that way we at least hear what's
It's-
going on.
It's not communicated well enough, and there was a lot of feedback in that 2-hour meeting, and none of it has been encapsulated or encaptured in what's in front or presented to the board today. There were no changes made from the meeting conversations, the committee meeting conversations that I'm aware of. Is that correct, Executive Director?
The changes that you requested could not be made. That we met on Friday last. The agenda packet had gone out. We can certainly take those suggestions moving forward, which was the intent. But I don't think it's entirely fair to Mr. Chidlaw to postpone the presentation. He's here. I would agree with Director Leffel that we should entertain his required presentation and make changes going forward based on the pleasure of the board.
And the requests in the committee meeting were not just mine. So I want the record to reflect that. I think there was feedback from both board members that there were things that could be updated and addressed a little bit differently. So again, as chair, I apologize. There was clear communication in email and in text yesterday about this. I really don't see that this is ready for the board to review. And I know in the last 3 years I've been here, there's been times where that's happened. We, as a board, had conversations about one of our strategic things in November was we really want to reflect our branding better. And one of the feedbacks at the commission meeting was, it's like we've got the right hand and the left hand, and it's not well put together, or, it's too separated at this point. And so I would really like to see, and I'm sorry, I thought even we discussed that. Yes, we were meeting on Friday, which was unusual, due to, scheduling challenges. But that, an update could have been sent to the board on Monday or Tuesday, incorporating some of the feedback from that meeting. And again, because there's no feedback from that meeting, I find it difficult to move forward with things at this time.
Is this a chair decision or is this a board decision?
So, matters to place items on the agenda are different than removing items from the agenda. Removing items from the agenda is a board decision.
I'm good with, we can take it to the board, or what do we need to So we need to entertain a motion one way or the other.
Yeah, we need to somehow find out what the desire of the board is. Do you want it to move forward now, or do you want it to continue it? But removing items from an agenda is not a unilateral thing. It is a board decision.
And you and I were not able to communicate this morning, and I understand, times are difficult, but I'm absolutely fine that this is a board decision.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Director Sabo.
Uh,
He has a question.
I have a question regarding your comments that indicate, because I'm a little unclear what went on in the committee meeting. You indicated that there wasn't just you, there was another director that had some concerns, and that there needed to be modifications to the presentation. I guess I'm just a little fuzzy on what we're doing here, or why we have to withdraw it and defer it. Could you explain that again?
Madam Chair, may I?
Mhm.
What I would add to the for context is during the airport Marketing and Air Services Committee meeting, which I was remote from Miami. There definitely were some discussions about how we might modify the presentation of our marketing materials between what's provided by Mr. Chidlaw and what's provided by our staff on the digital side. The discussions were inconclusive in terms of reaching agreement on the way ahead. I think and that's reflected in the chair's desire to review the minutes to get some clarity. There wasn't a lot of time for reaction. I remember the director's the executive director's comments that changes would likely not occur in time for this meeting, but would be considered going forward. So that's what I recall from the conversation at the meeting. I'm happy to review the minutes so that we get concurrence and agreement on what occurred at that meeting for the record.
So
I'll stop there.
unanimous among the two board members to one, change the presentation? Is that what I understood?
We never got to yes or
Never
no.
got
We just got to, disagreement and being at headway about suggestions for improvements and it not being received in a lot of ways, in my opinion. And I do recall that we said we can't get it into the packet for Friday, but I said, well, it could still be communicated to the board with some updates and changes on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay,
So
I understand. That. Thank you.
So that was some of the challenges. So I'll go ahead and leave it up to the board again and entertain any emotion.
Well, since we are a full board, I actually would like to hear it because we also then may, Chair, have some ideas on how it could be improved if we hear this. And that way it doesn't just rest on the shoulders of you and Mr. Pick in committee. So
I appreciate that. And I'm sure the entire board will have some questions and, overall viewpoints. So I'm fine with that. I think if someone wants to make that motion.
Do we need to make a motion to keep the same agenda item? I don't
Okay,
think so.
we're good.
No, I was gonna say, as long as we know, if there's, I sort of just count heads on this one. If you don't, you would, and technically you don't necessarily need a motion if there's concurrence to continue it. We just can continue it, but I sort of just count heads. If you want to hear it, then let's hear it.
No.
And if not, then that's okay too.
I'm okay since Mr. Chidlaw and our other partners are here today. So I'm okay with that. And I appreciate that it wasn't a chair decision. I'm not trying to be that way. I would have gotten that clarification from our council ultimately, but I am very concerned that the feedback was not received during our committee meeting in any way, in my opinion, and that it wasn't it could maybe be done by Friday by 2 o'clock when we met at 10 o'clock. And I completely understand that. I still question why we met on a Friday versus earlier in the week. I know that there were scheduling challenges, but I think, and I believe we've addressed that by having kind of a set schedule as well, as a committee. The one caveat, and I am quite disappointed to see that even the feedback about our articles, that there wasn't just a one page with the different articles, because it was hard to read and it was hard for context. And I think that would have been one very easy update for this board to see. So I look forward to the presentation and appreciate you being here, and we'll go forward from there. Let the board hear where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Now you don't know where it was. what to do.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah, watch what you say.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
You had a chance to run away, you didn't do it.
I have a kayak you can borrow.
Well, obviously, go through the presentation, I'm going to go through it very quickly. Things that need to be changed and worked on. I will say that we have been working very, very hard on PR marketing. The reports might not show that, but what we've been expected to do, we have been doing a lot. And I'd like to take a second to welcome Marcy Walker. She's the local owner of Buzz PR, who is helping us with our public relations campaign. So the report might not be as thorough as we would like, but there's a lot of stuff that we've been doing. And I just think that's good. Okay. All right, so what we're going to talk about very briefly today is there's going to be changes in the public relations efforts, community outreach, our show, marketing efforts, social media website, the app, and upcoming projects. Next. Okay, so in December, our highlights included with Buzz PR, Marcy Health, and Military Lounge PR and marketing that went over incredibly well in the market. We also did a lot of PR on Dallas expanding service, the airport receiving grant money for each terminal, American Airlines free training marketing. We did roadshow presentations, and of course we did our normal December marketing.
Could you stop for a second? I got confused, and apparently I'm getting real confused here easily. So, are you talking about PR in this presentation or marketing? Yeah, all of it. Could you distinguish between the two, because they're two different functions? So, are we talking about PR here?
Snapshot of December, I would give you a PR. Let's go to the next slide. This was more PR. This was the public relations in December.
Okay.
Again, thanks to Buzz PR, we promoted the Military Lounge, which we got excellent press, the Monterey County Herald, the American Association of Airport Executives, Pinecone, the Monterey County Weekly, and we also got local TV coverage on Military Lounge. Very successful event. On the Dallas expansion, again, press releases went out for the Dallas expansion. We were in the aviation pros. We were in the Fort Worth Star Telegram, which is one of our missions, is to be able to do more marketing in those cities to get those people to come to Monterey. We were in 360 Magazine, and then we talked about the grant for the new terminal. And for that, we were in the Hanford Signal, the Monterey County Herald, picked up on it, the Carmel Pinecone, Airport Improvement Magazine, and the Center for Aviation. So all of these, the Center for Aviation, it's a, I Googled it, you know, it's a trade newsletter. Thank you.
Okay.
Airport specific.
All right.
So that I would put under your public relations.
Okay.
So excellent coverage on this through the month of December. Roadshow. So this is our first roadshow, and I'm very familiar with the roadshow, I know. In early December, the Santa Cruz Chamber of Commerce and 60 of their members were in this boardroom right here, and Michael and I premiered the presentation to the Santa Cruz Chamber. The presentation took about 45 minutes, and the questions and feedback was tremendous. People loved the presentation. We got 3 or 4 different leads, Capitola Chamber, Visit Santa Cruz, who all in the coming months want us to do the presentation again. So Shakers and Movers of Santa Cruz, they did a little 2-day retreat,
and we started retreat here at the airport and we will do the road trip for that.
Can we ask
Can
a
I
question?
ask one question too? So, Mr. Lapierre, is there a reason that the board doesn't have the slide that's presented? Because I know that was a request at the meeting.
We got this presentation when Chris walked in the room. So,
Okay. It's, as a one board member, I would really like to be able to take notes when things are being presented to me and to have more than one way to get communication. As I stated in that Friday meeting and am stating at the board as well. And I know we as a board talked about that in our strategy meeting too. So thank you. And I do want to recognize how much great publicity we have been getting. So, and
I
I mean,
suggest that
social
we just
media.
take a 5-minute break and that we get it printed.
Sure. Okay, before we leave this, I wanted to ask, could you give us some feedback on these things where you gave presentations and where it was very well received? Could you give us a little more feedback on what people said or what's going on? I'm interested in the impact. I'm gratified that
Well,
you're
let's-
doing stuff,
What,
but what's the feedback?
could I suggest that would you be okay tabling that, Bill? Because I think
Yeah.
it will come back
Went
better.
back to a fantastic. Chair. It's unbelievable response.
Hmm.
A lot of them don't know, that a new terminal's coming, they don't know all the prices.
Yeah.
They're really impressed.
Good. Thank you.
Feedback.
5 minutes? And please help yourself to the coffee and water and you tap it again, Chris? Is it? Your mic is different than ours. Is it on?
Hello, test.
No?
Okay.
All right, wait. Oh, okay, we're back in session at 10:16 and Mr. Chidlaw is presenting to us and we, as a board now have what's being presented.
And we've already been noodling some ideas on how we're gonna do these reports moving forward, so we understand. Next slide, please. Basically, Marcy's gonna do it. Okay, so again, the road show, Director Sabo, and Michael, if you guys, obviously you were there too, they're just they love this airport, they're very interested in what's going on at this airport, it's extremely positive what they have to say when we do those road show reports, and also they're very interested in the 2035 vision coming up, the new terminal and things like that. So they're very engaged, always asking questions. It's really overwhelming how well they're doing.
Did we make the ask for their support
Oh,
to
yeah.
use the airport?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Michael is yes.
Yeah, we got resounding support for using the airport along the lines of, I hate going over the hill. I'd rather come to you. So, yeah, we got some good support from those in attendance. Feedback was if you had Southwest, we'd never go over the hill again. Not sure that's going to happen anytime soon, but we can work our way toward that. But they were very receptive, responsive, and appreciative of
Good.
everything that's going on.
And that Highway 1 shutdown in Watsonville right now is not doing us any favors. I can tell you that. That means anything.
So could I ask a question? What we were presented at Air Services Committee, we had dates for upcoming road shows. Could we share those dates
It's
with?
in here.
Okay,
It's towards the end. Towards the end.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so next, are you ready to move on? And then now there's marketing director, Sabo, so that was the PR we talked about, now the actual marketing in December. We did some half-page ads in the Monterey County Weekly promoting our military lounge. We got over 200 commercials on KRML radio promoting the military lounge. And then on television, we were very big in 49er football on KCBA, KION, whose ratings this year were just off the chart. I mean, we're reaching about 20% of the population. We're in one of those games. College football playoffs, local news, of course, on KSBW, whose ratings just came out the other day. And they are, like always, the #1 monster newscast in the area.
And what we were doing there, we were promoting American Airlines flights to Arizona to go see baseball spring training. And of course, for the ag folks to visit their crops in Yuma.
And Mr. Chitla, do we have what our spend was in December marketing?
Approximately $7,000 we spent. Those are, so you want that? Is those the type of?
Just product, swag is great.
We have a monthly budget of about 10 grand that's been approved that Michael gives me. And so we spend, anywhere between 7 and 9 grand a month, try to keep it under that 10. I was told to keep it under that 10. Right.
And I believe that information is shared with the board in another report that you get monthly in your.
We usually spend about 9,950. Yeah.
I'll ask this once and then I won't ask it in future presentations, but I'm interested in the fact that you advertise in Monterey County Weekly, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But how does the that print advertising compare it with the Herald and the Carmel Pine Cone? My sense is the Carmel Pine Cone gets a lot more of our Peninsula guys than the Herald does. But how do the cost of those comparable ads compare?
The costs are pretty comparable, and you're right. To market just the airport, the Carmel Pine Cone reaches really a core audience of the airport. However, when we're talking about a military lounge and you want to reach military people, they are reading the Monterey County Weekly.
Okay.
They're younger, they want to see what's going on in the area, they want to know what, entertainment, and that's what the weekly is for. The weekly is for exactly like the military lounge, a place to go, a destination marketing. So that's why we chose the Monterey County Weekly.
Okay, yeah, I'm not questioning
No, I
the
understand.
choice. I just wanted to know what the cost was of the various media.
Half page ad in the weekly was about $800, and Pine Cone's going to be similar. They're all relatively similar to that.
Okay.
But again, to reach the military, we went with the weekly.
Is the Californian pretty much not a consideration anymore?
Now, we do every once in a while, but I think it's twice a week now, or once a week.
Down to 3 times a week. One of the days is maybe 4 pages total, and it's based out of Visalia now. They don't have reporters here in Monterey at all. They have a small office, not open to the public, but their headquarters are at the net now in Visalia.
Okay, so
Thank you.
that,
Yep. Are we doing things with Santa Cruz too? You mentioned those partnerships and I'm really grateful to see
Yeah.
that. Are we in their magazines or materials?
we're not, we
Or-
don't do much print, so we're not in their print. But again, as we talked about before, when we're in a football game, when we're in college, when we're in KSW, they boom Santa Cruz.
Absolutely,
Everybody's Santa Cruz.
absolutely. Okay, I believe there's some publications though that might
Yeah,
be worth
we're
looking
at
into.
Santa Cruz Base,
too.
and The Sentinel is the Herald up there, and it's,
Okay,
but we can look at the equivalent of the weekly, it's like the Good Times up
Okay.
there.
and I would say social media wise too, considering some of those partnerships.
Yeah.
I know there's Event Santa Cruz, or I'll let the experts and the expertise look at that. My other question is KRML, and we asked this in the meeting, what is the listenership on that? And kind of how many people and, the demographics or I don't know what the right term is, in this PR world, but what are the stats on who's listening and some of those things?
I don't have that because KRML does not subscribe to a rating service, so they can't get it, but I can get it from other companies. They're not the strongest radio station in the market, but they do very well for the demographic that we're after, like 18 to 49 or so, they do well at. What's interesting about KRML is they win the most popular radio station in the weekly year after year after year after year. So they have a very loyal audience that sticks with them and listens to them a lot.
But we don't know, we have no data on what they're,
No, but I could get that.
okay, yeah,
For the
if
next
that would
meeting,
be
we'll-
great
yes,
for next
absolutely.
month's meeting.
And the good thing is, and it also comes down to price, and that's what it really is. How much does it cost to reach 1,000 people? Is what all this stuff is. The judge department is all said and done. And we get a tremendous deal from KRML when it comes to rates and how many spots we get. That 200 spots we got for the military, I'm going to spend $50 million. Just do the math on how the commercials are costing $3 or $4 a piece. And that's kind of hard to walk away from $3 or $4.
And the digital portion of the December marketing, how much was spent?
That's, 1,000.
Roughly, yeah, for December. I believe it's in your report. It's just that we say here, this is December marketing, and to me, social media should be included in that. Our overall spend, we've got radio, we've got TV, we've got, and I know that was feedback given too.
We do have some slides coming up addressing social.
Okay.
media in the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was December. So all that new stuff you just saw during the day, that was just December. And then in January, again, we continued on with airport receiving money for new terminal, again, the Dallas expanding service. We started working very hard on our special February 9th event. American Airlines spring training continued on. We had a meeting with Monterey Bay FC Union that I will talk about here shortly. And we had some more roadshow appointments. So that's just, again, the highlights of it. Now we'll dig a little deeper. For the public relations part of it, the new terminal was picked up in the center lines today and the Monterey County Herald. We got some more coverage for the Dallas expansion and the Texas Lifestyle Magazine. Again, that's awesome to get that coverage in the big metropolitans like that. And then we got some local coverage on spring break as well. I know one thing that we will do, because you get the monthly reports from us and Marcy dives a little bit more in, we'll get the actual articles and when they came out and things like that moving forward.
Spring break, a publication. What is spring break?
No, that was another public relations that we did. We sent out press releases promoting spring break.
Promoting spring break.
Okay, so roadshow in early January, we were invited to the Monterey Chamber of Commerce Economic Vitality Committee at the Chamber's offices. Myself again, along with Michael, gave a presentation to about 12 members of the committee. We were told we would have 10 or 15 minutes to give the presentation. The presentation went over 45 minutes because again, of the unbelievable feedback we got from these chamber leaders about what's going on at the airport. They all have questions. They're all curious and they all love what's going on with the airport. Also on January 26th, we were invited to speak to the board of directors at the Monterey County Convention Visiting Forum. Chris Chiball, along with Michael LaPierre, gave a presentation to approximately 25 board members of the CVB. We all know what the CVB is. It took about 30 minutes. In fact, we were cut short because time was up because people kept asking questions. And here, Michael kind of took the lead on here to discuss with these folks how they really can help the airport when it comes to funds and everything like that to secure more air service. That was really kind of the main topic, talking to the convention of visitors to see, they're going to have to help you guys bring more flights in here. And that was something Michael took on. And everybody agreed. They get it. We've gone a long way in the last 3 to 5 years. I remember trying to get meetings with the CBB before, and it was like, so things have really changed. And not for me, just what's been going on at the airport here. Also, January marketing. Okay, a little bit more detail about this, but again, we did, we promoted American Airlines service to Phoenix again. And again, we were in 49 football game, including the championship game on CBS. That championship game in this market is 60% of what a Super Bowl game does in this market. Unbelievable audience. 30% of all TVs had the 49er championship game on in Santa Cruz, Salinas, and Monterey in those cities. So that we're just reaching so many people. See, again, we've talked about this before. We're lucky to be able to buy TV in this market. That football game costs $1,500 to be in a championship game. San Francisco, it's going to cost $150,000. So there's some advantages to being in a smaller market like that. We can go where the fish are. We can really get out there. And that's why we use TV as much as we do, because it's affordable. So a challenge that we have, right word, Michael, meeting with the Monterey Bay FC Union. I know you're laughing. We have a 2-year deal with those guys. And so last year was the first year. Long story short, we need to do more. We're meeting with these guys and more. We don't necessarily feel we're getting our money's worth. And that's kind of on us, to make sure that we are getting our money's worth. I don't know if you've noticed, but they have a new promo they're running. Go buy tickets, support them. And the airport sign out at the stadium is right there. And so every promo you're running is an MRI. Now, I don't think they did it because we met. I don't know, maybe I should change that.
No, I think it's because of your dynamic personality.
Exactly. But anyway, so all the drones are running, you see the airport sign out at the stadium, so we're on, you're getting free TV exposure through the union. Having said that, we need to do more with them. You know, there's talk about getting tickets, but then you have to buy the tickets. We have the sponsorship with them. They're not afraid to charge money, the FC union. So we're just trying to put all that together. There's also talk that they're going to start broadcasting their games on TV. And I think that's something we would be interested in being part of as well. So the burden is on us, and we're still in discussion and meetings because, you know, they're going to be knocking on this door, as we told them, 9 or 10 months from now, sitting right down here, wanting to renew our sponsorship. And we got to make sure we're getting our full value. You know, we all love the union. They're very popular. The stadium hosts 6,000 people, and they were very honest. They estimate they get about 4,000 people at night to the games. So, you know, that's pretty good. But
I'll tell you, we were at the season opener and our sign was right there. Good stuff.
good. And that's something Michael and I, we're going to try to get out more games so we can see what's going
I have a question, Chris. So, Salinas now is working with the earthquake.
Yeah.
So have we explored that we would do what we're doing with the FCs over with that group?
We
So
have not, but we certainly will.
it seems to me that's another,
I think it's like the Earthquakes minor league team or something.
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
Just like this is. So it seems to me it would be important. We have a lot of soccer enthusiasts
Oh,
in this region.
Salinas is huge soccer.
Football is life.
Hollister, too. Record six.
Do you have any sense for what the FC is doing in their outreach to the Hispanic community? And can we tag along on all that if they are doing something in that regard? Because, I'm making an assumption here that a lot of the soccer effort is directed towards the Hispanic community and not necessarily in our peninsula,
I agree with that, but they will tell you that they're marketing for the local peninsula as well. But
I don't doubt that,
Yeah.
but
if you go out to the game and you're looking at 80% Hispanic, I'm sure.
yeah,
know, if not
and they're
more.
coming in from the Salinas Valley, and I just wondered if they have a vehicle for marketing
Well, that's
themselves
why-
out there.
And that's why I'm very interested in getting, if they're gonna start broadcasting games, to get on the channel, during the game. Because with Hispanics, not all will watch it. I've always said you want to reach the most Hispanics at one time, being a Raider. Well, it's gonna be like soccer.
Yeah.
So they start broadcasting these games. We need to be there because those households in Salinas will be sitting there watching these games. So
Okay,
that's something we're exploring.
all right.
Yeah, and the only other thing I will add here is that the partnership is working 14 times this season, this coming season. The team will be flying out of Monterey Regional
Oh, yeah,
Airport.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
They fly commercially or are they flying? Okay.
Yeah.
And I did want to applaud the sponsorship. I know we, discussed it when it first came up and this team had found that opportunity ultimately even beforehand. And the union is great for our community ultimately. And wondering too, and maybe you have this later and again, CSUMB, are we looking at some partnerships with them in some way?
Again.
Okay.
Something we can.
I think,
explore.
and especially considering even the union is right there. We've got the Otter. There's potentially something that maybe we could even have the Otter come to the district at some point or to the airport or,
Yeah.
he has, yep. Okay, okay.
To that end, we do have a sponsorship with CSUMB. We had broadcast commercials at all of their basketball games this year.
Perfect, perfect. They're really growing too as a university and things are changing there. Great.
Do we, as part of our sponsorship, have tickets?
To Monterey Bay FC?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
And what do we do with them?
Those tickets are typically, we get 4 per game, and I've been using them with the employees. Allowing the employees.
Maybe you could get some kind of a little raffle going with KRML and put a couple of them out there that it's sponsored by the airport. And that way it would also give us some numbers of how much activity we're getting with KRML to see how many people
I'll
respond.
get that info. Okay, sure.
But it's just a way to measure a couple of things. not to take away from the staff,
No, no,
I'm
no.
sure they love to go, but
Yeah. It's amazing how many staff members really enjoy going.
yeah, it's important, but
And we're
and also I'm going to say, I think 4 is pretty stingy.
No, I mean, God bless them. They got a business plan and they sold a lot of stuff, but they're not afraid to ask for money. God bless them.
Well, we're not afraid to ask for tickets.
Yeah, we talked to them about getting a suite and they had all these ideas and then, okay, well, the suite sounds good. Yeah, we think we can do it for like 3,500. What about the 20 we're spending? Yeah, but Michael and I sometimes figure a little differently. But we do love our association, because there's no doubt about it. February 9th event, again, we talked about this, we did a lot of strategizing, a lot of help. The Buzz PR was really the one that took this event and rolled with it. You know, when it came to the champagne, the cookies, the media. So we'll talk about the event in a second. If this was in January, all the pre-work that was done leading up to the event, that again, we really have to thank Buzz PR and staff here at the airport, Amanda and others for putting that together. In February, again, Dallas Special happened in February. We also began to promote JSX, Orange County service. That was very important for us. More roadshow presentations. We did our February marketing, and then we'll talk about upcoming projects for February. Okay, so the Dallas expansion of service, our little party that we had here leading up to the party. K-Island TV was out here. We were on the KSPW website. We were in Texas Lifestyle Magazine. We were in the Monterey County Weekly, and we were in the Monterey County Herald. And you know, there's only so many of these outlets in this market. It's not like we have a choice of 48 different outlets. There's the Herald, there's the Weekly, there's KION, there's KSPW. So we pretty much hit the nail on the head with this one. And again, big thanks to SPR for the help there. JSX, we got some JCG blog, and we also got some Aptos Times. And so we're reaching out more to publications like the Aptos Times, and a great relationship with. And then spring training, we got some coverage in Monterey County Herald.
Yeah. Why do we have a concentration on JSX as opposed to I'm just spitballing here, some of our markets where Alaska may be struggling, up to Seattle, why are we emphasizing JSX, which is that big,
Right.
versus all the other stuff?
Only because this is the public relation part of it. They announced that they were coming back, so we figured we'd put a press release together. SBR and the airport put a press release together, and we sent it out.
Okay, so it's not an ongoing
No.
point of emphasis.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, but since they were coming back, we thought it was only appropriate
Good.
that we did.
Could I ask, are all these things linked on our website?
Linked on.
The coverage that we received.
No.
Okay, so there,
Oh.
please go to the mic, please. There. Yep. There you go.
We do put whenever there's an article in the paper, when I catch them, and Marcy has helped out with that, sending them our way whenever they come up, I do link them on our website on the news page, as well as all of our press releases go on there. And I even put like a PDF of it so people can download it, print it if they want.
And I really appreciate that, because as one director, I do go to that page sometimes. And even when people are asking, oh, I saw this, it's nice to be able to sometimes find that. So I greatly appreciate having that. I think it's a good repository too. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chidlaw, it's amazing how we are well spread around the different publications here on the peninsula. I think we do have opportunity to look at some of our other partnerships and expand that. I know we got to do what we do well, but there's greater opportunity. And I know that that's one of the things. Obviously our partners in South County are dealing with very different drastic things at this point, but hopefully, in a few months we can be part of
We do have
that.
some things that Buzz PR has helped finalize coming up down in South County that we'll talk about in just a second.
And so again, but having that information stored someplace, and it's something that I would encourage all board members to maybe go look at, because this stuff is hard to put in print too at times. And it's so much easier if you've got an electronic depository or place where things are held. Thank you.
Then, of course, we had a February 9th event. On 20 community things, everybody had a good time and they loved seeing the jet come land. So again, it was overall a great event for the airport.
And just an added benefit to that event, we found out after that a key executive from American Airlines was on that airplane, walked off and saw us. So we got some great internal feedback from American Airlines corporate as a result of that event.
Good.
Next slide, please. Okay, roadshow, and I think everybody you were there. You were all there when we were at the NCAA luncheon, where Michael and I, again, along with Mr. Wright at the Jet Center, gave our presentation. And you can see how everybody was they had to stop the questioning there. They were running out of time, and more people are going to continue to ask questions. So again, that was another roadshow presentation that we did in February. In February again, Phoenix for spring training. I don't know if you guys noticed if you were watching the Super Bowl, but we were right before the game and then right after the game, so we were involved with the Super Bowl, which of course is the #1 rated show on TV year after year. We also did a lot of business around the AT&T golf, big sponsorships on Comcast and KION that broadcast it because that audience is the airport as well. I mean, the golf audience is huge for this area. You live in Carmel, Monterey, you probably talk to golfers. And then again, KSBW local news, and we did Monterey County Herald Swing Time edition that comes out during the 2023 AT&T. It's there that everybody looks to get tea times and all that kind of stuff in the Monterey County Herald.
Chair, question. So Chris, I just want to understand what you said earlier about the cost of an ad during these games, because I saw that ad before the Super Bowl and I was like, holy cow, how'd we pull it? $2,000.
Yeah.
So is that a function of us paying KSBW rather than being in San Francisco and having to pay a local TV outlet there?
KCBA this year, the Fox affiliate had the Super Bowl.
Right.
So the
Okay.
Fox affiliate in the Bay Area is KTVU channel 2, but you guys actually get the news down here if you want to watch it. Yeah, and that would have cost a couple $100,000.
Got it.
On KTVU. Now, we have tremendous relationships with all these TV stations. You know, I've either hired or fired just about all of them. So they like working with us and they love the airport and the business that we give them.
Right.
So it works out. Well, I'm glad you saw
Thank you.
that commercial. And the game itself was $10,000. And so, you know, mathematically, I think if we did one before and after, probably save a little money. And we booked them right before the Niners lost because that would have been sweet.
There were a lot of people pulling for that.
Yes.
Myself
And
included.
Director Pick, Chris will not say this, but I will, because I've watched him hire and fire most of these people over the years.
Yeah.
What's important, I think, is that he looks ahead and he buys slots, not knowing which of his clients he's going to put them in, but he goes out and buys them before these major events and he gets a much better price than like, oh,
Fox.
wow, they won and now everybody wants the space. So
we-
that's one reason why we get really good
Appreciate that.
pricing.
Yeah.
And it's because of his long-term ability.
Nice.
You want to be in the championship game? Yeah, book me 3 spots and we'll deal with who's in it later.
Okay. That kind of fits with my question. Do you have a calendar for the year of, I mean, and obviously it's not everything, but just kind of, I mean, I know we've got car week, we've got AT&T week, we've got spring training, and we've got the rodeo. You know, it would be kind of nice to just see that,
You're
that
talking
over
community
you.
events or TV shows or both?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it relates, right? Because I mean, whatever event we're in, I mean, we're getting sponsorship. We're probably being advertised in some way, whether it's a banner or just being at a place. But I think, you know, seeing that would be helpful
Yeah.
too.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
coming-
it's in your mind. It's how, I mean, you know,
Just gonna be honest with you, it's. in
Yep,
my mind.
yep.
But I can work on getting a spreadsheet. Like coming up, you guys are gonna be all over March Madness, coming up. Of course, the Masters first week in April, you'll be all over that because of those are just perfect opportunities for you. But it is a lot in my brain, but it would probably behoove me to put it.
and I think Spanish
Yes.
outreach or translation, however, I would encourage this team to really look at even trying to understand approach for that this coming year. And I realize that's probably not going to happen, you know, for a quarter or two. But I think I don't know if other board members feel that's important, but I certainly would like to see some more translation of some of our things
I agree.
for that bridge to
Yeah.
another community.
And that is in the back of my mind when we're doing some of these, you know, we'll do like Giants baseball games and other things like that. I think we spoke about this before, and I agree with you, and we need to get on KSMS's news, which dominates Hispanic.
Telemundo too,
Yeah,
right?
but
We've
that's
done
okay.
a
KSMS
little
is-
bit.
Yeah, we have done some.
Yeah.
But when you're in a Giants, the Hispanic stations did a very good job of making everybody think if you're Hispanic, you only watch Hispanic stations. And that's just fallacy. It's not even
Right.
close. You know, we all have Hispanic friends who watch nothing but English TV. So when we buy the Giants or we buy a football game, please remember that we're reaching a ton of Hispanics when we're doing that as well. But I'm with you on doing some Telemundo and KSM.
Are we doing something with the Big Sur Marathon?
Oh, I think I mentioned that here. We were again the major sponsor, one of the major sponsors. Yes.
Are we starting to advertise it though now?
Yeah, they're doing something like that.
Yeah, we do a little bit of advertising behind that. Most of what we do with them is related to the actual event. They have 2 days plus of
Expo.
The chair of the board of the Big Sur Marathon can speak more to that, but we do a lot there. Amanda does a great deal of social media behind that. Our partners at United support us in that. United will be here in Mass to help us again this year. We did an internet contest. We get a number of entries into the event with part of our sponsorship, and we use those entries as a marketing tool. Last year, or for the half marathon, we partnered with United, and they did an internal contest with United Airlines employees, and those that won joined us for the half marathon. This year we had a few extra entries. Amanda did some social media in Seattle and was able to award 3 entries to people who responded to the Seattle initiative that Amanda took forward. And they are now joining us in Monterey for this year's full marathon as well. So
Are you saying they're joining you?
no.
Are
you'll
you,
never see me.
are you saying that they are actually running in the marathon because they won this thing? Okay.
Yeah, marathon entries is, as Dino can attest, are a commodity. They are a very valuable commodity.
No, I understand that. So my point is that we're about, 5 weeks before the marathon?
Yep.
So it would seem like now we'd want to hit some marketing that, like, if you're booking your flight to come for the marathon, fly into Monterey.
And to that end, we have been there with the marathon as they market the event itself. We are a sponsor and they carry us through. Amanda, you can talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
For specifically for social media, what we do is when they announce who got picked, for lack of a better word, for the race, we use the marathon's data for like their big locations of like where people are from, and we hit those in a targeted social ad like specific to runners, and we like tell them like don't forget to book your flight, or whatever.
Do we do cross partnership? I can't think of the term in social media, but where you would actually tag the marathon or they would tag us?
Well,
And-
generally anything that we do on social, if it's involving another organization, then yes, we do tag.
Okay, or paid
Yeah.
sponsorship, I think is what it's termed as on social media. But I know, I mean,
I think
tags
that
are different. I'm
that's
looking
the
for,
Application, but we don't do anything like that just because I don't know that it applies.
okay.
for
Well, I'm
people.
thinking because we're a sponsor for the Big Sur Marathon, it would be great to say we would be the closest airport
Yeah.
to fly into and have them do
They-
a
they-
post or
they
that
do.
kind of thing.
They They do, I think, they give us
Okay.
2 posts that they do the week. of
Whatever
the
that's
event.
called.
So they do it for the half marathon and the full marathon. And then they also do like audio stuff that we provide them a script. They do audio at the expo, at the event itself, Finish Festival. and
Great.
whatnot.
Are we still flying golf bags for free and wine for free? We did that with one of our
Wine
airlines.
is free with
Alaska.
Alaska.
and bags are, if you have status, go free as well. You
Okay,
have to have
with the status,
to
yeah, which is true anywhere with the status. And then we tried to do a little bit more partnership with Seattle and like the pub. We were trying to like do a contest type thing. Are we doing do we have anything kind of lined up for next year with any of our, whether it's Arizona or Dallas, Fort Worth or?
No,
Any-
not as yet. Not
Okay.
as yet. That's something we always are looking for. When we did the event in Seattle, that was around the inaugural flights for Seattle. And then we followed that up with Portland when Allegiant did Portland. So we did a road show in the community then, in those 2 communities. We don't have those on tap yet.
Yeah, we're talking to KRML about these things.
Okay. I think, Edible Monterey would be another one to consider for some of those conversations, I believe, and I think there's a Santa Cruz publication for them too. But we have so many great chefs here. It'd be wonderful to even consider something, and I know we were kind of doing the beer thing, but maybe we look at doing culinary a little bit more. And that would also maybe fit with our agricultural partners.
Marcy's husband happens to be an outstanding chef and she has chef connections all over. the place.
I think even the chef that's here, Tim Wood, might be interested in, it'd be fun to do a competition or something, chef's competition, that kind of thing. Okay.
Now we can go over some.
I got one more, and that is the graduation or CSUMB. And there are a lot of parents and people who fly in.
Yeah, that's been a pretty
So
fun
if you want, I will give you the contact, and I think that might be a good partnership to encourage them to fly in here instead of San Jose.
I like that. Social media, here are some more detailed reports that I put together. Seven there to put together. We'll go through these relatively quickly. You had a total of 1,758 story views, with the Carmel, the top webpage referred to. 54,000 webpage views. This is for the month of February, by the way. So in the month of February. The most searched page on the website was Las Vegas for some reason. And over 1,300 website acquisitions from social media platforms.
Wait,
There's
Chris.
a lot of information here that, the top 5 states where they're coming from, of course, California, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Nevada. Top 5 cities: Monterey, San Jose, Los Angeles, Salinas, San Francisco. So you can just, there's a lot of good information. Oh, thank you. Oh, because of the recording or something like that?
Yep.
I'll stay over here.
It's nice to be able to move though, isn't it?
So.
If I could ask, and I know, Amanda presented to us before, and I think it was helpful as a board. This is a lot of new information. I know we discussed that at our meeting too. Amanda, if you could give us a cheat sheet even, and I think it is actually on your digital, the clicks and go to the mic, please. Please, yep, you got the mic there.
I think that you guys had made that request when I first started putting that. So we did add that sheet with all the terms and what they mean
Yeah.
at the end of the report, and it is included every month.
And as a board, I highly recommend the board look at it because it is a lot of,
Yeah, we're gonna actually, if
and-
it's all right with you, Chair, we're gonna kind of skip through a lot of these
Okay.
reports because it's so.
Yep.
You need to skip ahead a few of these, because Matt did a great job on this. Well, we'll hang in there. Here, Chris. I got it, Mr. Attorney.
Well,
Gotcha. So again, in February, or right now, Facebook, we have over 14,000 followers, reaching 53,000 different people or different impressions. Twitter, we have almost 2,000 followers. Instagram 2400.
Do we know where the followers are from? Not really. That data is not. It is. I mean, you have to go to their profile or you can actually get it. See, okay.
The breakdown.
And then you can see the annual overview here of the followers posts. Again, that's all in your packets, and I'm not really taking anything away from Amanda's hard work, but I know there's a lot of detail in
Yeah,
there.
there is.
Picking. And Buzz VR needs to leave that. So a little bit more. So again, the budget, on the paid social media is $1,000 a month is usually what things spend.
I have one, a PR.
Or Marcy.
For Marcy, before we go, I'm sorry.
Nope,
I could
go ahead.
interrupt. I understand, but I'm the airport's liaison to the Transportation Agency in Monterey County. This is a board that represents all the mayors, all the supervisors. I get a lot of feedback from them, and they they question me an awful lot about how are our delays and cancellations going. There is an impression, and as long as I've been on the board for 15 years or 16 years, the same question comes up. And I'm not sure I want to go out of Monterey because you cancel a lot, or coming back in, you divert a lot to somewhere else. It's not true. Okay. And if we could do a little institutional advertising or PR to just kind of share what's going on at the airport. We, through this whole episode here with the storm, we didn't divert anybody. But there was the impression of many people that we must have diverted a lot of people to Fresno, and they hate that, so it's not true. If we could do more in that, and the other part of it is institutional advertising or PR, or what the benefit that we provided here, that we kept operating during the storm, and the flights kept coming in and going out, and we took care of our passengers here. Those are the institutional things those are the feedback I get from a lot of people, and I think we would benefit from a lot. So I direct it to you in PR and also for our social media advertising. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I just want to give that's not a directive. I just want to give that thought based on the feedback. Sure.
Great meeting you.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
can I just
Director Beck.
echo what Bill just said? Echo what Bill just said. I can't tell you how many times I hear, flights out of Monterey, they get canceled a lot, they've weathered out, this and that. And frankly, that was my experience years and years ago. Right now, frankly, I'm not exactly sure what happened to the upgrades on at the airport at when that happened, but it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. But there's a lot of dated knowledge out there, including in my head, from when that flight got canceled when I was going from DLI to Washington D.C. for work, and I had to schlep up to San Francisco to fly out of there instead. Happened 12 years ago, but that's my institutional memory. I think that's out in the community a bunch. I don't know how we counter that, but just want to echo what he said.
Good point, and that's a tough one to counter because it is there. It is institutionalized in people's minds. We do the best we can, but we can always look at other alternatives to that, because when we're 98.5% reliable, which is the number that we use.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
We've actually had TV commercials where we talked about the reliability. We can bring it back.
Awesome.
And then finally on this, so the combined impact of people on social media for February was 217,640, right on my website, Facebook, Instagram, paid ads. So, but over 200 people reach, total people reach on the social media platforms and order with a man. Okay, so website and app, where we know that we have some things going on here. I'm sure you're all aware that we recently hired a firm to take over updating the app. It is a mission of ours because I'm embarrassed. I was part of the original app, and I just didn't know some people would vanish from the face of the earth. But it happens, and we are desperately trying to get back on the right track. with the app, and I think we're making progress.
Yeah, as of yesterday, I was told that the revised app is in the Google App Store. We're still working on the iOS or on the Apple App Store.
Does that mean we
it's
have to
gonna-
go in and
I-
and do a new one?
I would think I would do that, yeah, for an update.
Is that what happens?
Yeah, typically you'll have to update when an app is changed, so I would suggest maybe doing that. Just go into the store
But you're saying it's not ready yet.
for Apple. No.
So here's my deal. I've got it on there. So do a lot of people, because that's what we wanted them to use.
Right.
So how do we're gonna have to tell them, get rid of that old one.
Yeah.
It's
soon-
dead.
Yep. It's not that it needs to be updated, but yeah, we do have to message that to people that it's changed. We'll just call it the new and improved, which is kind of an oxymoron, but we'll call it the new and improved and be out there telling people about
But
it.
we're not new and improving the old one. What we're doing is making a new one. Is that what I heard you say?
Kind of a combination. It's more of an update than anything. And I can tell you. a
I
little
can
bit
try to
about that.
briefly explain it. So the old app, there's not really a way to access it, and it's on an account that's not related to the airport. So the new developer, they are taking the files for the app, but putting them on a new account that is under the airport's name. At least that's my knowledge at this point. And yes, people will have to re-download it. And we are gonna have to find a solution for how to get them to know that. Ideally, what we would do is put a message on the existing app, kind of prompting people to
But you can't.
re-download. But there are challenges with that, but that's something that we are working through in the process.
Okay, I mean, it is what we're all being forced to go to, where you're booking flights or doing whatever. Everybody's like, go to the app, go to the app. And so it will be confusing to have two out there, one very old as it gets older. So whatever you can do to make it and put it out there to all of us. And I have offered, and I know that Lisa and I are on social media a lot. So you can tag us on anything, Amanda. I don't care how often you use me as a vehicle, and I'll go out there because I don't always see what you post. You're not in my top 25 or whatever. Sorry. But you don't post enough for me to be that active with you. And so I think it's really important that we use everything that we can. And it's an embarrassment,
Yes.
and we do need to get it fixed. And I know you're working on it, but I would not be me if I didn't just say what I said.
Yeah, and
Good.
I got some really good advice a few weeks ago and working with Michael too. I'm gonna spend more time on apps and websites. You guys are looking at it, have another set of eyes to make sure, you know, we're hip, we square the ball.
Somebody has to look at it every week and make sure that every bit of information on there is up to date and,
Well, that brings up the next.
oh, go ahead.
What we're recommending, this is, we believe that the best thing for the website for community events and everything is to take those off and just link to the CVB. Now, your top 5 visits on the web pages are flight status. These are what the top 5, why they go to your website. Flight status, destination, airlines, flight information, airlines and flights. I went on Fresno's, they have a link to the Yosemite, they don't have local. I went to Santa Barbara, they link out, they don't have the local. It's just our opinion that if we want to have those local community things, why not link it out to the professionals at the Monterey County Convention and Visitors Bureau?
You're talking about the events.
Yeah, and just in general, yes, yes, that is our recommendation. So not to be decided right now, but it's that because again, looking at the website, we have Rodeo up there and we have some other things. Let's just send it. People are not going to the airport website, in my opinion, for community events. You don't, you know, so why do we want that there when we can just link them to the CVB?
But when you say link, I mean, are you looking for a paid partnership or a, because
No,
again, I
the
think that's,
CVB
you're just
offers
gonna,
this to us, you know, this is just in our meeting brainstorming that we were just do it ourselves, have the link to the CBB for all the events and everything that.
I think the thing that maybe we would be losing with that, and I think this is a deeper or a bigger
Yeah.
conversation ultimately,
Right.
would be the locals that follow our airport page. And, we do sponsor a lot of events and we are a good community partner. And I think that communication to even the local community here is really important. It's not just the tourists, but it's the fabric of this community that is here and ensuring that. But I think this is a bigger conversation. I wanted to go back to Director Luffel's question about the app. We're talking Google. Where does Apple stand in that? Or is it, there's two platforms, right?
Yeah.
So Apple is okay, or that would also need to be updated? Mike.
I think at this point, it's probably safe to say that we are just working on the app and we're taking steps to get it updated, but nothing is completely fixed.
But
Better word. right
but
now.
it would be two different things, right? Because you've got Google iOS and Apple. And again, I'm a novice. I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't know enough. So,
Two separate sets of codes,
yeah,
one for Google Play Store and one for the Apple App Store.
okay. But we're looking at needing to update both of those then. Clarifying. Okay, thank
So
you.
again, a much deeper dive discussion on the website. Okay, we're gonna wrap up here. Upcoming roadshow appointments. We have one booked at the Monterey Rotary Sunrise at 7 a.m. on April 4th. Monterey County Farm Bureau, we will be speaking at on April 13th. A Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce luncheon on April 17th. Buzz PR just confirmed that we will be at a King City Chamber of Commerce breakfast coming up here in the next few weeks. And also the Salinas Rotary Club. It was actually at the MCHA event where Luis Alvarez came up to Michael afterwards and say, hey, you got to present this to our Salinas Rotary Club. So those are booked appointments that are coming up. We still have tentative agreements with Capitola, Santa Cruz, and the Santa Cruz Rotary, numerous numbers, and still having conversations with nonprofit social clubs. But we're averaging a couple, 2 or 3 a month. We could probably do a little bit more, but so we're out there. We're trying to get to as many people as possible.
That's great. I want to recognize the
Yeah.
effort on that
Thank you.
and how great that outreach and community is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw a couple heads here. Anyone else want to speak or? Okay.
Nope.
And could I request that the roadshow, the current, I don't know if it's, I know we all saw it and the MCHA luncheon. I know I had requested then, but if the entire board could be just emailed what the roadshow is currently,
Okay.
that'd be helpful.
Okay. And the last page, we're continuing dialogue that we talked about before, with the airport becoming like a spokesperson when there's travel stories going on, that the local news would turn here, when they have holiday stories or, different things going on in the airline. We have standalone editorials coming out in the Salinas Valley Business Journal as we continue to really do all we can in Salinas. We talked about the Big Sur. We're focusing on the Seattle flight coming up in our marketing. We need to make sure that stays strong. Also Dallas, new March press releases went out. We'll have that report for you. We talked about women in aviation and there was a couple other press releases. In roadshow, we talked about still doing as many getting the opportunities as we can. And of course, summertime travel is another thing that we began working on immediately to start capturing that crowd and the other things that we talked about today. I think that's it. So,
Director Miller?
Newsletter.
yes, a newsletter. Yeah, my bad. We are working on a newsletter. So sorry.
Thank you.
Director Miller?
Thank you for the presentation, Chris. Very informative. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't always know about. So thank you and your staff and our staff for these great things. Just to follow up on what you said about how inexpensive it is to place ads. I remember 10 years ago, you helped me with a commercial. I hired your firm. You put it on the World Series pre-show.
Oh,
I think it was right well under $1,000. Anyway, it was one of the last commercials that they aired for the pre-show. The DA at the time, Dean Flippo, was watching the World Series. He said he was launching an investigation. to see where I got the money to afford to advertise on the World Series.
And that,
But I remember it was like 600 or 700
that
bucks.
wasn't just any World Series, that was the Giants.
Yes, yeah,
We need more Giants World Series.
we do.
Thank you, thank you.
But great placement and without a lot of money. So that is a true value we get from you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Director Pick?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Chris, I wanted to add my thanks to in spite of your reputation, you did a great job today. Look, listen, overall, there's a lot of work and a lot of effort going into getting the word out about the airport, and I'm personally seeing it. I'm hearing from others that it's happening. And I appreciate the comprehensiveness of the report. So our communications internally as a board and concurrence over how we want that formatted going forward, notwithstanding, terrific work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yep.
I'm, sports, we were talking, not my strong point. I like doing the work, so, but I get the need for reports.
Roger that. Thanks.
Great, you did good.
Thank you, Director Sabo.
Yeah, I want to echo, that we'll find some formats and some things that can really communicate things. I'm not looking for lots of information. I don't think anybody on this board wants that. We want to disseminate information as quickly as we can. And I just want to acknowledge and recognize, since I've been on the board, so that's, I joined in May of 2019, and obviously we had the COVID blip, but how much more we are communicating and sharing the great things that do go on at this airport and the wonderful people that work here and travel out of here and things of that nature. So thank you to the entire team for being part of that and being here today.
And I do get, I think we talked about it before, and it's in the mind, wanting to see ratings and how many people we're actually talking to, and I've got to figure to remember to do that. Because it'll all make us look better when we see.
And maybe you can come to a committee meeting,
I
and
apologize,
that
I
would
had
be,
to be up in the Bay Area.
understand. And this last couple of weeks has certainly been interesting.
Interesting.
So, or challenging or, very unfortunate for some, but
Makes me
yeah,
wanna go have a
absolutely.
Whiskey or something.
All right. Any other comments? And I should take it out to the
Just
public
I'm missing
too.
one thing, and that is on that a diversion thing. We had one flight on Thursday night that was diverted. And it was on social media, it was on Nick's door, and people had Flight Aware or whatever that is and showed it looping around. There were a lot of people who commented on those posts who also said, hey, this is still my airport. This is where I want to fly. While we were sitting here, I just looked to see how many flights were diverted out of San Jose. They had more. They had more on Thursday and Friday. We had one, they had multiples. And I think that that's important, that we don't want to bash the people north of us, because airplanes are good for all of us. But I do believe that we need to make people aware of the fact that this is a safe airport and that the prices are not out of line, and we are not in an island when you have storms like that the cancellations and the diversions and things are up and down the coast. And I think that's important. So the numbers for the Bay Area of diversions and cancellations were staggering during this last week.
I'm all for droughts. I probably shouldn't say that.
So, but thank you.
That it?
Thank you very much.
you.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
So, I do need to take it out to public, but yes,
Oh.
thank you for your presentation. Right? It's a receive. So anybody in the public, and do we have anybody online still at 0?
We don't have anyone online.
Okay, not participating. Anyone in the public like to make comment? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as we discussed, we'll drop to number 5 at this point. And then we were going to go to closed session and then reopen back up to the other items. So, yes, yep. Thank you.
This is the matter that is there is a resolution to accept it and allegation that the property of. As the board members are aware, there is a group of first to redevelop commercial properties. The state has largely made it, very easy to do that. One of the things that we like to do and like to request and ask for as a condition of the conversion of property or the redevelopment of property is we ask for an allegation easement, which sort of notifies everybody you live by an airport or your property is by an airport. And this gives us the right to, as it outlines in the easement, a right to overfly, a right to, make noise, and there's going to be some exhaust and there may be some dust or something, particulates or something, there's all kinds of notices that are in here, but this gives us the ability to do that. One of the conditions of an allegation easement is that we of course, we have to accept the allegation. It seems odd that we may be required to accept property, but you can imagine people would want to do all kinds of negative property over to public agencies and deal with it. So this does require that you accept the allegation. I will tell you this, that I largely drafted, and have modified a little bit. I do thank the property owner for we had an initial draft that was somewhat old and had some updated language in it. I looked at it, I said, this needs to be changed, and his response was, well, I didn't initiate this, I got it from you guys. So we did, and I apologize for that. We did update the language, got it back, and it has now been executed. We recommend approval, and we recommend passage of the resolution to accept this application. I'm happy to accept any questions.
I would move that we approve resolution number 1843.
Second.
You can have it, Dino.
Thank you, Carl.
And
Public comment?
second by Director Pick and Director Sabo, you've got a question.
Yeah, Scott, how did we happen to get this? The reason that I asked that question is because it's been fairly automatic in the past, at least I thought it was. And the Airport Land Use Commission, of which I'm a member, stipulates that be a part of any city of Monterey approval of a project and all that. I like the idea that came to it. I'm very supportive of the whole thing, but what made this one unique in 16 years of being on this board? First time I've ever seen a navigation easement come to us.
Yeah, typically in the past, you have directed staff to just simply accept that. There is a provision in the government code that requires the acceptance by the body.
Wow.
And so I am, I mean, you can, if you want to pass a resolution, give authority to the executive director to accept it in the future, you can do that. And if you'd like me to do that, to draft that, so that you can delegate that to him to accept navigation, because I have to do that.
My thought is I would support that particular thing. I like the way it was drafted, and it's been kind of a mystery as to what this navigation easement, but it's very important, being a resident of Pasadena out there, they hate it. But it was imposed on them by the county and the developer, and the airport is a beneficiary of all that. So thank you for doing that. I just wondered how it happened to come to us. Thank you.
Anyone, any other comments? So we've got a motion and a second on the table, and I need to take it out to public comment too. So I'll go ahead and open it to public comment.
Fred Solano representing the Family Trust, and just to echo the comment from Director Sabo, we appreciate, we have other properties also in the Garden Road corridor. This is not going to be the first time this is going to come up. It is a standard, a condition that the city of Monterey imposes, and of course, we want to be work well with the airport. And just as much as you want to protect your rights, we want to make sure as when tenants and others come in, as residential starts to come in, as your legal counsel was saying, as that conversion is happening, residents know fully well what they're getting into living next to an airport.
They forget.
Well, but they're gonna have all the legal documentation every time. And so there are other projects that are coming along, so if there is direction to make this more of an administrative process, so that when we get to the next property, again, these conditions are on every one of those projects and other developers that are doing the same, that would be helpful, so I don't, as much as I love being here, and I love being in front of you, my grandfather flew planes, so that beginning of the meeting was very interesting to me, because as a young kid, I had experience flying out of this airport in a small airplane with my grandfather. Some of my most treasured memories with him before he passed were seeing the quilt of the Salinas Valley in the air and having that experience. And we would do nothing that would hurt what's going on here at the airport. We want to be great neighbors, but if there's a way we can make this an administrative process, because it is a standard condition that we would do on any parcel that we have, and for other property owners, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make public comment on this item? Avigation easement.
Just one quick
Director Fuller?
question. As a condition of this, they have to go above and beyond on certain building materials, don't they?
That's actually not in our purview. That's in the purview of the city of Monterey. And so I don't know how to answer that question. I know some cities will impose higher regulations and soundproofing, some do not.
I can, and the answer is yes. Obviously, something that's a concern is the extra sound, and so there is extra it built into the units themselves for soundproofing for residential standards, windows, things like that.
Great, thank you.
Are these rentals, by the way? Are they, is this rent?
that's
That
not-
particular project is that we're talking about today, 2,264 units. Yes.
Okay, and do you share this information about the avigation easement with your
So
renters?
there is a condition that requires that when they come to apply for the property, they get all the notices. Now, sometimes, like you said, they forget because it's like the stack of paper you get when you want to buy a house and you get notified all these things. I'm very familiar with like right to farm ordinances where the same things there. You just sign, but those are included in the document.
But they do get, the tenants do get information that says there's an airport.
You are in an airport zone and airport operations will happen. And
Thank you.
Exactly.
So Scott, could you clarify that? Is it like the lead paint forms and that kind of, it's not part of the lease, it's an actual sign off for every individual that lives or resides there?
So my understanding is that the developer will be required to this avigation, the avigation user was before he was living what we've been recording. I don't know exactly what the notice is going to say, because that's not within our purview. But yeah, there will be notice to the potential tenants that they live by an airport.
Were a few things, and this is when we had the opportunity to comment on the rezoning, the airport did. We asked for a number of things. Avigation easement was one. Real estate disclosure is another. As well as we will have reviewed the lighting plans to make sure that the lighting is downlit and does not impede aviation as well. So there are a number of checklists the city has that come to the airport for us to review on any of these projects.
Okay,
And that was at the airport's request.
I appreciate that. I think some of those conversations were before I joined, so that is helpful to know. I don't know. I had a question, but go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Chair. So supportive of the agreement, supportive of future administrative processes that allow the executive director to be delegated the authority, and no offense to our developer, but this is a bad idea. The rezoning there is a bad idea. We have avigation agreements with Pasadena. If you look at the noise complaints every month, we get complaints from Pasadena. The language in that avigation agreement is robust for us. And if I was moving into a house and I had to sign it, I wouldn't. But that's not what's happening here, right? It's being signed by the developer and it will be imposed on a future person should they read it. Again, no offense. And I've not read thousands of pages of things I've signed. So I'm right there with all of the folks here. And I just want to be on the record as saying this is from a zoning perspective and a community development perspective in partnership with our neighboring jurisdictions, not the best land use decision that I've seen.
All right. The abrogation agreement is we look at what is the surrounding area that would encompass us? I mean, we've got our district and then what is the circle around that? I mean, if we look at making this a bigger policy decision in the future.
So any concern that this would be.
Airport area of interest.
Yeah.
It's airport influence area, AIA.
And how, I mean, is that miles or, I mean, is it like a circle within a circle? I mean, so the district.
Bridge area, and it comes from the Airport Land Use Commission, it's a airport land use compatibility plan. So that is identified in that plan of what area this would pertain to. And it's pretty much all over the peninsula where there's overflight.
Okay, okay. I appreciate the clarification. Just more for my knowledge than anything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I could not agree more with, Director Pick on the whole thing, but that choice was not ours. But what I will say is I have worked with, Brett on many projects over the years. He was the city manager in South County for a long time. And, I think we're fortunate that this first conversion is his family's because he understands the authority and the government side of things, also the developer side of things. So I believe this one will be kind of a good one to start with, because of his expertise and his long-term service to his communities and now to his family. So, it is what it is. I'm also going to say this, I think this one is more important and these conversions are more important that they come to the full board. So they're on record as opposed to them being solely administrative. Pasadena is administrative because that developer did that deal a long time ago and that easement was put on there. So we don't see them every time somebody buys a house or sells a house. But when it's a conversion of property, I think it's important it comes and it becomes a public record of the full thing. And that's just me, but I would think that that would be something we'd want.
All right. Anything else? I'm seeing no hands and doing my best to facilitate with, I think we're doing an okay job at this point with that. I'll go ahead and, we do have a motion on the table and we have
We
a
do.
second. So roll call vote.
Director Pick? Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
Yes. All right.
It's
Thank-
work.
Thank you for coming. Where were you city manager, you said, or? Okay.
Nice.
Great.
You still got bruises.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and continue here. So again, we had decided to pull 1, 3, and 4 for conversation after we did closed session. So I think we're at a point of doing that. Do we have menus for, okay. So maybe, Mary Ann, would you grab the menus? Get those passed and we'll probably at this point, we're gonna crunch Woody's, so we'll need to be patient. And at least we've got a little bit of food for lunch or breakfast here.
Thank you.
So go ahead and go to looking at the agenda. It will be item I, closed session. And I've asked our attorney to take us to just give us a recap of both items 1 and 2.
Right.
So we've got 2 items for closed session. One is item number 1, pursuant to government code section 54956.8, the board will meet with real property negotiators, executive director and general counsel regarding the enforcement of property common resolution number 013-221-020-0. And item number 2 is pursuant to government code 54957.6B2, board will meet with the executive director and general counsel related to potential exposure mitigation in one case. And so, Madam Chair, if there's anyone here who'd like to comment on the closed session agenda items, will comment for the board's consideration.
Could you give the address of APN, that APN number?
It doesn't have, this is. We don't have the trust. 1600. 1600.
Has a White House ring to it.
Yeah.
All right. And I, again, we did have some complication with our packet this last time. And there was a omission originally on Friday. I think Director Sable, you had pointed that out in email, the two items. So I see that this is where this is falling now. And so I'll go ahead and open it up and see if there's anyone in the public that would like to make comment on this closed session item.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Sani and fellow directors. Gavin Panholster, your fire chief, and I actually have to admit I failed to recognize, because I did not look up the APN number, that this had anything to do with the proposed fire services agreement. I'm guessing that it's because it is a lease of the property to the fire service provider that this is presented this way. So I apologize. I don't have much more prepared here, but I do want to speak to that, and I want to say 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago, we made a huge commitment to the airport and the airport district, and most importantly to former employees of the airport, that we would, one, provide fire services out here and meet all the necessary requirements for the FAA and for you and for whatever respond effectively to all the emergencies. And I believe we've done that in the 9+ years that have transpired since then. But like I said, we also made a huge commitment to the airport employees. In your RFP, you actually stated that you want the employees of the fire department that provide service here to be standing in the shoes of airport employees. And we've kind of done one better. They have been airport employees that have been that are currently working out at that fire station. They just transitioned to become City of Monterey employees. Additionally, I would like to also emphasize how we've worked with you over the years. There was a time when the contract was different, and we received a request from Mr. LaPierre on, can we look at maybe refining this to make the balance of how we share the cost of the contract. And we sat down, and it turned into a substantial savings for the airport district. We stand open to have those kinds of conversations when we have the ability to determine the kinds of numbers that we can use to have that conversation. Moving the airport to the north side of the field changes the dynamic of the value it can provide to the local communities. We have started conversations with involved individuals. I can't discuss the details of those conversations, but to see if there's ways where we can leverage that side of the airport to be of more benefit to the communities. And so given that that's a possibility, certainly we would come back to the table and say, let's have a conversation about rebalancing the costs. The proposal you received from us really just answered directly the immediate request we received through the RFP. So we are open to have those conversations all the time, anytime during the time we have we're in contract with you. Also, we are local. Any other proposers are not here because they'd have to fly in from somewhere or something like that. Their employees would be flying in. I guess it might increase passenger traffic at the airport here. but of course, as locals, we also contribute to the passenger traffic at the airport. I and my family, we fly out of here. My sister was thrilled because she lives in Seattle. When that Seattle flight came in, both my father and my sister were thrilled because they can fly back and forth to visit each other with a nonstop flight from doorstep to doorstep. We also have local knowledge. We have your former employees as our employees. And then the other thing that we can provide that nobody else can provide is the great depth of resources that we have. If your RFP asked for services and resources here to handle day-to-day routine things. If something serious were to happen here at the airport, the ARF unit and the engine parked at the station would be totally inadequate to handle that situation. The next 3 closest fire stations to the airport are City of Monterey fire stations. They are resources that we control. They are resources that are included in the package deal that you get from us. And yes, the last engine we would get from the City of Seaside under an existing automatic aid agreement. We don't have to negotiate any other agreements. We have all the resources in Monterey County, as a matter of fact, all the resources in the state of California available to us because of existing agreements we have. So we have the greatest depth of resources available that anybody can provide. And so that's another huge benefit you get from going with us. And then we know the airport. We've been here for 10 years or nearly 10 years. We know the airport. We have good working relationships with your operations staff. We constantly call each other to make sure that, things are being worked out. We've been here, we've addressed the needs, et cetera. So we know your facility and we know your airport. And so we really want to continue the relationship, and we want to continue to be your fire service provider so that we can continue to work closely together and provide great services. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I want to acknowledge, I think I was about a minute late on the hourglass, so you just made when I finally turned it over, but in an effort to be fair to everyone. So.
Good morning. My name is Ross Counts. I'm the newly elected president for Monterey Firefighter Local 3707. I didn't come with a prepared statement for you today, but I do speak for the operational staff of the Monterey Fire Department as their labor leader. And I can say without hesitation that we want to continue to provide you with the highest level of fire services that we can. We see the airport as a crucial element to our not only our entire department, but to the response matrix and to the ability to serve the community and the airport primarily. That's like I said, I just wanted to introduce myself. It's very nice to see you all in person. I think I've traded some emails with you. But we are a committed group, about 78 men and women, and we'd like to continue to do so. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question before they leave.
Scott, is that, okay. Okay, go ahead. If you can speak to the mic.
Okay.
That was public comment, remember, so.
I understand, but
Okay.
I sense that you're going to leave, and I had some important questions that only you guys can answer when we go into closed session. So, I'm looking at your proposal here.
We're not, yep.
On the statements they made? Okay, well, you talked about how you can service our airport very well, and I'm a little concerned about the response times that you can do from Delavina or what's the nearest fire station here? Can you really do that in a prompt fashion? Yeah.
So with respect to response times, there's really 2 things to look at. One is the FAA mandated response time, and certainly that is to get the ARF unit into operation on the airfield, and that would always come from the airport-based fire station. All our surrounding fire stations, if an airplane were to actually go down here and with an ensuing fire or a mass casualty event, that ARF unit is going to provide the immediate protective services. All it does is it keeps the fire at bay so people can get out of the aircraft. That's the entire 100% purpose of that initial response of the ARF unit. It doesn't have the resources or the capability to fully extinguish the fire, and it doesn't have the resources or the capability to provide medical services to the upwards of dozens of potential victims. For that, we bring in additional resources, and those resources would be here. The Delavina station has probably about a 4-minute response time, and our downtown station has probably about a 7-minute response time to get here. In non-airport firefighting, we talk about effective firefighting force and getting the full depth of resources available. We just had a standards of cover study done on the entire Monterey Fire Department operation, including in all jurisdictions, and it also addressed the response to the airport. And it was determined that we can deploy the effective response force. And I don't remember the specific numbers, but it's in the neighborhood of about 11 minutes. And normally that's done in 13 minutes in most other jurisdictions. That's kind of the standard. The people that did the actual study of the standards of cover that looked at that said they've never seen an agency that can deploy as many resources as quickly as we can and as effectively as we can. It's unusual.
Okay, and so your proposal basically is to say you would provide these services to the airport pretty exclusively except for mutual aid. You're not really planning on having a coverage for Ryan Ranch and all the other things that you have been doing in the past. This is for the airport. that right?
As I shared in my comments, yes, we are exploring how we can leverage the existing fire station and I mean, the new fire station, and how we can leverage that to share the costs and share the services that it provides. Sitting over on the south side of the field where it currently sits, it has the ability to serve quite a few of the Monterey neighborhoods that aren't otherwise served by other stations as well.
Okay.
We serve those neighborhoods out of our other stations, but this one is more strategically located.
Okay. Just
We'd
wanted to
like to
clarify this
continue that,
before you
yes.
left, because
Yes.
you're the guy, you know. Thank you.
Why, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, we will continue to explore that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. We're gonna go to closed session. We thank you and thank everyone that's here
Yes,
in
Thank you both.
attendance.
thank you guys for coming.
Call it order.
Oh, we're,
You can bring us back on the
we're
list.
okay now? Okay. We're now back in a regular session. There were no reportable actions in a special session. Good enough?
Yep, no reportable action was taken in closed session. Direction was given, and there is a special meeting that is going to be held on April
5th at 10.
April 5th at 10 a.m. to deal with the ARF, the firefighting proposal, the RFPs. We will.
Well
We
done.
will invite the parties to come.
Yeah, okay. So we're back in regular session, and I think do we have anything left undone on the regular agenda?
Number three.
Number three.
Number
Number four.
three. Oh, the resolution 1841, approving the service agreement between the Monterey Peninsula Airport District and KBM Hogue, and staff, do you want to say some?
Sure, I'll take that. Yeah. And we'll bring up, yeah, please, if you want to bring that up. So,
Can you see if the board needs to hear anything about it? If they've read the packet and are ready to make a motion?
yeah, absolutely. Does anybody need to review anything, or are you comfortable where we're at?
I would move approval of resolution 1841.
Second,
It came as a full
excellent staff
support
report.
for finance.
Yep.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. Anything from the public?
No members of the public.
No members of the public. Roll call vote.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Nice
Yeah.
work.
I know. And what's the other undone item?
Number
four.
4.
Number 4, resolution 1842, resolution approving the state of California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, airport loan. Okay.
Second.
Okay, and just a little information here in the finance committee. We reviewed the loan terms and asked some questions, and both members of the finance committee provided their endorsement of recommend passage by the board. Any members of the public, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? No public in attendance. Roll call vote.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Leffel,
Yes.
Director Sabo,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Chair Sani.
We're voting
I
on the Caltrans
The Caltrans I'm good with.
loan.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, I think we can move on to board and committee reports. Budget and Finance Committee was yesterday. There
Wait.
was,
You can turn it back to the chair.
Yeah.
oh, you wanna,
Well, I've
Go
got to
ahead.
leave. I've got to leave, so I'd like to leave it in your, did we do both of the agenda items?
3 and
Sorry,
4,
that
yes.
is- Okay.
Did not do.
And number
one.
one is my question. I would recommend that we continue that for a later date for a time of discussion
Concur.
as a board.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Okay,
fine.
at the chair's discretion, are you gonna move it to the next?
Yeah,
next
we'll find the
meeting?
time.
Okay, let the record reflect that item G1 is moved to the next regular meeting of the board.
Okay.
Did you get that, Denise?
I do, thank
Okay, and then on the board and committee reports, budget and finance, we had a rather lengthy discussion about rates and charges. Out of that emerged the need to the desire of the executive director to have a special senate section regarding rates and charges. A lot of discussion about the hangars. There was some discussion about the budget, what the key priorities for the upcoming budget preparation of the budget were. And you identified several items which are important to know, but I don't think we have the time to really go over those. Is there something that kind of highlights in that question that was addressed in the board meeting about what your budget priorities are for the upcoming budget?
Starting to move those more toward the finance. And then we asking for the maintenance and planning. And I'm going to build into the budget money to accomplish that salary so that it's not just to get salaries across.
Okay, and you've already heard much discussion about the hangar issues, which was part of that. Moving on to air service marketing, community relations, any questions? I think the minutes are in there, although I didn't read the minutes. Anybody got any questions on that? Air service
The
marketing?
minutes are being modified for the next meeting. And we did have the presentation today with Mr. Chidlaw, which was not what was presented to that committee. But it was good to have the board discussion ultimately on that.
Okay, airport property development and leases, Director Sani. Director Miller.
Actually, Director Miller?
We spend a lot of time talking about hangars. That seems to be taking a lot of our time at the end here. I mean, there is a thank you, Chris. There is there's minutes available. I don't have anything else to report beyond that.
Did that committee come up with any conclusions regarding the hangars?
We did talk about a phase-in approach, and that's where we are right now. It's a big unknown because we do not know what these costs are right now. So we are guessing on the high end, but I think staff is optimistic, and I am certainly hopeful that it's going to come in lower than that.
Okay, any other further questions for property development? Ad hoc committees, local jurisdiction liaison, anybody meet?
The ad hoc committee, there is a request to, I think, Director, and this is incorrect, it says Leffel and Miller, it should be Sani and Leffel. Not a big deal by any means, but there is a request that we have a meeting to just discuss what else we could do this year with that, or what kind of, where we want, what goals or items we want to discuss. And that's and part of it is just scheduling at this point, I believe.
Any questions on ad hoc, local jurisdiction liaison? Okay, moving on.
Sorry,
To
quick
the
question
mic.
on that one.
Sure.
Mike,
Quick question on that one. Who is the request from and who are you planning to meet with?
I've had requests from several people, and so Director Leffel and I discussed just meeting to kind of discuss what we wanted to do
Great.
with
Got it.
that and what
Thank
makes
you.
sense.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to HC liaison representatives, Lefko. Is there anything related to the airport that developed out of LAFCO?
Something that you should know is that LAFCO has had the same finance company doing their books for 17 years without going back out for an RFP. And they've had the same auditors for a long time. So I will, this afternoon, actually, when I leave the doctor, I'll be reviewing RFPs and RFQs for that will be released out. And through the Budget Finance Committee, we found that it was time to go out and see what was in the marketplace and give other people a chance to bid on the business. So that will be coming. The budget is, it's gone through Budget Finance, and there was initially a request from staff for 8% increases in salaries, and that is now going to be 3%, along with some other changes. But the amount that I had told you last month that would be our annual assessment is going to be less, because did not find it palatable to give an 8% at LAPCO when every agency around is holding salaries low. So anyway, that's my report. And we do meet on the 27th of the month.
Any questions from the board members on that, on LAFCO? Okay, moving along. Anything from the public? We don't have any publics show up. And let's see, Regional Taxi Authority, Director Pick.
Nothing.
Did any
Nothing to
meeting?
report.
Okay, Transportation, TAMC, Transportation Agent for Monterey County. They had a meeting, but nothing related to the airport. A lot of discussion about unmet transit needs, and a lot of discussion about making sure that funding got up to the Brundale overpass up there. But other than that, nothing involved the airport. I did get a lot of questions in my portion where I'm able to do a little pimping for the airport here. A lot of questions about, are we diverting a lot of airplanes to Fresno? Are we doing a lot of cancellations? How about what happened to service to San Francisco? I was surprised at the number of questions that I was getting from the board members. They have an interest. And so that's why I brought it up earlier here. They have a very positive impression of the airport, particularly the supervisors, and that's a good thing. Okay. Having said that, moving along, does anybody have any questions on TAMC? Okay. Let's see, what's the next thing? Special Districts Association, anything on that, Director Sani?
No, nothing this month.
Okay, and AMBAG?
Yeah, I got just a couple quick things to report out. I actually attended 2 meetings. Most of their focus is the number of houses that different cities are mandated to build. They did get a grant for GIS. Is that the right acronym for? It is available to all the cities. I asked, it is not available to us. But if we want that technology, maybe there's a way we can piggyback and just pay for the service, be a lot cheaper, be real economy of scale. We want to do that. Curiously enough, Monterey wanted to know if their GIS was coming with airport, and it wasn't runway safety areas. There are other zones too, and they were asking about all of those. So they've got plans, I think, for houses maybe in this area.
Yeah, sure.
And that's all I have to report on that.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to we already dealt with closed session and pending requests for future addenda items. I'm going to indicate that I'd like to see a special session dealing with rates and charges, which is what you suggested you were going to do. I'd like a finance committee and for the board.
It's coming.
So And included within that would be the discussion of hangar rates. That subject to scheduling could be as early as the next meeting. Let's see, what have we got here?
I heard,
Anybody else got anything, a request for future agenda items?
I heard Director Sani request, update on emergency procedures when we were talking earlier.
On the emergency procedure.
Emergency
for the-
procedures.
In the event of another storm, that sort of,
It was when Mike gave his report on the storm and everything, and then she said we need to have in a future meeting presentation on emergency procedures. So I'm just telling you, that was what she said.
I agree. That emergency preparedness for a future agenda item is to
Perfect.
how we're going to react to situations like the storm or an earthquake or fire or something like that. Anyhow, anything else? Carl?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Sure.
Just again, as the de facto parliamentarian, we do need a second on the item to be added to the agenda.
Items to be added.
Items to be added to
added
the
to the-
agenda.
Okay.
Need to have as it says down here in the agenda, approval of request to add an item agenda will be made by motion.
I move that we put rates and charges as part of the budget on the future agenda, and that we have a report out on emergency procedures.
I second. Any questions and discussion? Roll call. We don't, do we need?
There's a first and a
It
second.
just takes-
Oh, it just takes two?
Yep.
Okay, we've got two.
Yep.
All right, thanks for keeping me straight.
It's
I get a
hard.
little drunk with power here, you know. I go to my fascist mode, you know, so. All right, discussion of, we're ready to adjourn. We're adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you. Been a real slice of